Right, we are doing Someone Insight as usual, pretty much every week. We're one of the few shows that doesn't just go, oh, the season is, oh, see, yeah, because content never sleeps, you fools. So what we're going to do this week is, I will say, this is not going to be the episode where we have loads about the games. We're going to talk a bit about the Asia Invitational, so we'll do that as sort of the games. But obviously, this will be more sort of almost like what used to back in the day on TV be called a magazine show, which is the idea you round up like topical events and then you have commentary and editorial. So we're going to do sort of one of those types of episodes, which is always a component of Something Insight anyway, to be fair. So I actually think, since we were just watching the matches, let's do at the beginning. And I'll tell you what, actually, in theory, we've been told by the higher-ups who know about the algorithms and the fucking how to read the matrix, you should actually start with something like controversial or drama. So you know what? The most recent drama actually isn't even any of the EU stuff or the transfers. It's actually this thing that was happening like overnight, which is, as I joked about on the last episode, even though it's going to be called LCS next season and they're splitting it apart, etc., so I still don't really know how this will work. They're having the LTA North promotion tournament as we speak, basically, to decide who gets the spot. And it is teams, you know, like Disguise Toast, etc. But then it's got like Eastral, for example, is an LLA team that has Summit, literally the old Cloud9, the LCS MVP, and it has Ghost, World Champion, blah, 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 etc. They had these teams playing. And by the way, so far, these are close matchups. And unfortunately, the drama bomb, it's funny, I've never seen this happen, I don't think, in League, but this is actually something that used to be a problem in Counter-Strike in the online era, whenever it was online, which is during a break, someone saw on, I believe it was Ghost's player cam, that in the background, the player behind him, because it's one of those houses where you don't have 5 players in a row, you have some people here and some people here, you could see someone's monitor, I believe it was supposed to be Summits, the top laner, and he basically had a stream of the game during, like, was it a tech pause? Was it a tech time?
Yeah, it was tech pause.
Right.
Tech pause, yeah.
So essentially, the logic goes, people will infer that he was watching that part of the game up to that point, which would allow you, as an obvious conflict, things like you could see No Fog of War on the stream, you could see what they did, you could even see how much exact gold every person has. There's all sorts of things you could actually get from this that you wouldn't get from being in the game. So this is obviously something of a scandal, and it's basically announced. I saw that there was like a punishment, but what is actually the punishment? What was the conclusion?
He's just done. He's suspended. He doesn't get to play. They have to use a sub that is on the roster, which is like, I don't think they prepared top lane sub. I don't know who they have. So he just doesn't get to play. The whole point of this roster is to promote, right?
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. So they are pretty much doomed. And they had the series against this guy's Toast, right? And they didn't conclude it because there was technical issues. Because like the pause was like 2-3 hours long. It was a complete mess. Everyone was super angry about it. And now it's like they did their investigation and they've concluded that he has broken rules, which is obviously like the case. Like the proof is there. And the thing is, it's something that people don't know. Like I saw people like saying, it's like, oh, if he wasn't in this, if he was sitting in a different position, he could have gotten away with it. The thing is, Riot makes you install like the software that allows them to monitor all your key presses. Oh, right. Everything is recorded. Everything is just like visible for them. So it's not something that you can get away with. Sure, maybe it kind of puts Riot in the position where they need to investigate because maybe people don't, maybe the Riot referees don't if there's nothing happening. But I don't think this was done maliciously at all. Like, I think this was just dumb. I know that that's the conclusion most of the time, but that's usually the right one because I think this is just a player that has been sitting in the same spot for a couple of hours and he just starts to tab out and his mind begins to wander. There's so many times I have not worked with a single player that is capable of like doing nothing for a long period of time. That's like the biggest challenge ever. It's like anyone that plays League wants to have constant stimuli coming towards them, and basically it's like what was seen, what you could decipher from like that moment that he looked at was basically he was like looking at his own team fight that he smurfed in. Right. So he was just like looking, he was like glazing himself. Right. He was like glazing himself, you know. Okay. Which of course is incredibly stupid because of all the things that you mentioned. Like the implication here is just really bad. It's like it's cheating, plain and simple, regardless if you did it or not. Like it's like breaking into someone's house, and then it's like, oh, I was just sitting laying on the sofa. I didn't do anything. It's like, no. You broke in. Like, it's not, like, it doesn't matter that you didn't steal anything.
It doesn't matter what your intention is. The point is you could have cheated. We can't know what you, and also we can't believe you at face value. By the way, I actually want to get into this because I do also agree there's way more nuance than people realize. Like, I've got a few things, first of all, this highlights a separate issue, but one that I'm really annoyed at, which is, bro, when they started the LCS, they essentially killed something called the open circuit. Now, the open circuit at the time was companies that literally didn't have VC backing. They ran as real businesses. These companies could bring in enough from sponsorship and other revenue sources to then pay their employees and run the tournament. So you think of MLG were legendary in the console and gaming circuit in North America, mainly FPS games, obviously. You had ESL with IEM. That was a massive circuit. It was actually the number one circuit in the world. You had all the DreamHack. You had all these different people, right? When Riot took that away and said it's going to be LCS and ANEU, right? What they basically told you was they were like the Saudis of their day. They were like, we've got all the money, so just do what we say and we'll bankroll this whole thing. And everyone wanted in because they had all the money and they were giving everyone salaries and stuff. Well, the implication there for me was this, and this has always been baked into Riot's philosophy, is like we're leveling the industry up. Like we're bringing everyone to new heights. We're, exploring new frontiers that people didn't have when they were in their basements or just tiny little lands in the middle of nowhere. Well, here's the problem. Promotion to your flagship league, I'll never let them say otherwise, Yamato. Riot Global is North America. They always treated LCS as the most important league over literally every other league, including LPL for years, by the way. And they always had that as that's their pride and joy. Well, you know what, homie? You don't get to fucking disown it now. That's your fucking eldest child that you gave the golden boy. The idea that your biggest franchise league that people bought into for tens of millions of dollars has an online fucking cop as the promotion tournament. That's amateur as fuck, bro. What is that? That's crazy already because, first of all, immediately, that's one of the reasons you can now cheat Yamato because people are in different locations. If you were in the same room with an admin, a referee, the second you open that fucking YouTube stream, bro, he's just going to tell you, like, stop, and it's immediately going to get dealt with. Immediately, because one thing you've been there, bro, is this leads to the second topic, which is I am so fucking bored of pauses in League of Legends. I have watched League of Legends continuously from 2012, and I even went back on the old VODs. And every fucking year there are games like this where there isn't a pause for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It is hours. It is 20 minutes. There are real, important games. This isn't that big a deal. There's important games that have a 45-minute break. And the problem is, because of the implication that you can cheat, like if you get any additional information in a game of League of Legends, it ruins it. It's the same with StarCraft. Think about this for a second. If you were playing StarCraft 1v1 against someone and a pause had to happen halfway into the game, if you could somehow see no fog of war, the whole game is ruined. You know where their bases are, you know where they've hidden a unit, you know their total you know everything. You're not supposed to know that. And so unfortunately, League, even more so than Counter-Strike. Remember, at least Counter-Strike's between rounds. You get some info. You could go back and watch an old round, but it's not the same. A League entity, I always say one game is one entity. And so you can't give any info away. I even think it's already bad enough when you have a big break, especially, those ones that happen like right after a team fight or right before. You've already essentially ruined the game. Like now I have thought way more about what's going to happen in this team fight, or I could even though I can't communicate it, I could think about what I'm going to do in a way that I couldn't in a live game. But we get this tech problem. So one, tech pauses have always been way too big a deal, and they've never stopped in League. In fact, I think the last couple of years, I think we even went through like a sweet spot, bro, when there wasn't many. I feel like 6-7 years ago. It feels like the last few years we've gone back to them again. Like I think Monty even said this. Monty had to give up watching live League because they'd have like a break like this for an hour and a half for the tech pauses, and he'd be like, I can't add another hour and a half onto like a 4-hour fucking session. I have to have the VOD so I can just skip past it and start the game again. So the problem is in League especially, the only way you can do that tech pause is you have to say nobody can talk and nobody can open websites. Nobody can use their phone, right? As you've just said, Yamato, I won't even make this a whole like Zoomer rant of like the bloody Zoomers with the TikTok and the dopamine. Let me know who the fuck watching this show could actually just sit for here's the thing, not just an hour and a half. You don't know how long. You think it's 5 minutes. Could be 20 minutes. Is this going to be 40 minutes? If it's 3 hours, bro, you would have to be like a fucking Dalai Lama level monk to just handle that, to just keep your mind perfectly zen. And time doesn't exist. I've transcended it. I'm in the moment, and therefore I will always be arriving at the eternal. No, that's totally unreasonable. I don't think any professional sports person should be expected to endure that circumstances. So unfortunately, some of this does come back to like, can we have a functional game? Can we have some sort of a system? Because I agree. Certainly, I will not excuse what he did, but I also think nobody put in that context. People made it sound like it was a 1 minute break and he just started cheating. Because lastly, I'll give you one very quick reason as to why this might not be as sinister as people think. I remember one area I knew a long time before League of Legends, bro, that Westerners would never fuck with the top Koreans. And here's why. Because when I went to tournaments that had the first StarCraft 2, so that was like 2010 onwards, the first StarCraft 2 tournaments I went to, I noticed something about Koreans that even took Westerners years, and some of them didn't even do it. When a Korean StarCraft 2 player finishes a game, not a match, a game in a match, like best of one, like the first map in a best of 3, you might know this. Do you know what they do the second they finish the game?
They load up the replay.
They do not get up from their seat. They load the replay instantly. And listen, sometimes they use like a fast forward function, but they watch the whole replay while in there. Essentially, they do a review instantly by themselves right after the game. And they would all do this religiously. And so I actually think in an insane sense, people think this is Corp because I like Summit. I think he thought that's what he was doing. I think what he thought was, I've got all these fucking outs. I was not, you know what? I'll watch back the start of this game and I'll think about what I was doing in my decisions. Now, I don't think he necessarily thought through, I'm cheating and I can do it. I think in his brain, he never even thought. By the way, I bet he's never been, I bet he's never had a fucking 3-hour break or whatever the fuck it is. I bet he never experienced this in his life. He's also, by the way, someone who, like, again, I don't know how this works. I don't know how competent his English is. I don't know how much the rules were explained to him. These are all questions that I have to ask. By the way, I do still think it's cheating. I still think you should get the same punishment. But I do think it's actually a little bit more nuanced than people think, maybe, you know, who just saw it at face value. What do you think?
No, I'm with you 100%. It's like I work with Summit too. It was, albeit it was quite some time ago. Like I don't think that he would. It's like I don't think there was any malicious intent here. I sincerely just believe it's like, oh, you do something out of reflex. Another thing is, it's like they are playing in the environment that they are all the time. That's like an additional detail. It's like they are playing where they are practicing, where they are playing solo queue, where he's watching Korean drama in the night. You know, like it's his home.
That's true. That's true.
It's his home environment, which is like the added layer of the goofiness of it all. Is that you like the environment doesn't shift at all. Like there's a challenge in that too, to like put yourself in the state of mind that you're actually competing, because it's like you're in that same room. Yeah. It's like we even had this challenge when we were in the LEC and we are during COVID era, and we're just in our office playing. It's like setting the tone and getting the right energy for competition in the room is something that you need to like navigate. But I think an additional thing is like on official PCs where you play at LAN, you're just incapable of opening anything else. So that's also like an additional. It's like it's just
that's good. That's another reason why if it was a LAN qualifier, I don't think this could happen.
It's a really, really dumb and sad situation, because it's like I get his side, but as we both said, it's like the response needed to happen. It's like the only thing that we've had that was similar, but that situation. Like back in season 2, when Woong was just turning around, like looking at the screen, because it's like I remember he like looked at the screen and instantly started pinging people when he started like looking at the game. I don't remember what the punishment was back then, but that's like the only
some of the prize money.
That's like the only instance that I remember that is like remotely similar. And I remember also there was like this conspiracy that Woong is like one of the players that is more connected with like Azubu and so forth, so his punishment was less severe, you know. So because it's like in my mind when it's like a case of cheating, I feel like the punishment needs to happen within the game too. It needs to impact the game somehow as well, because like having a monetary fine only, that's kind of wild. But we live in a different era now. Nobody has money anymore in Esports India.
This is a deep pull, but I also think people even forget that story, because everyone only mentions Woong. But I'd have to look this up. But my memory tells me that like people just don't reference this. I think some of the TSM players also got fined. I think they also maybe like looked as well. It's just the difference is they didn't like, as you say, like ping the map or something, or they didn't do like something right after in the game or whatever. But I think because the problem with that scenario, if you don't know, is that's another example of cheating where it's like, Riot, you've gone out of your way to make this cheating.
Yeah.
Because, you've been to LANs, Matt. A lot of players, even pro players, have never done this. If you've been to an old school LAN where it has a stage, it's always like this. You're on the stage, and behind you is basically like a giant either projector or like a just actually giant like screen, basically. And essentially, human eye, mate, we're not looking like that. The human eye can look all the way to here. So the problem becomes when I'm on the very left of our setup and my teammate's here and I turn to him and go, come to Dragon, I can just see part of the screen. That's a real thing. It's happened for years. Put it this way, here's a bit of deep lore for you. That's actually the thing they never said publicly, but privately, a lot of top European pros, like the Scandinavians especially, that's one of the reasons they never believed it was legit to play in Navi's home arena called the Cyber Arena in Kiev. They had exactly that setup, and essentially no one was ever punished for looking like that. And they just think that, not the whole time Navi was the best team at the time. They think that sometimes people just like won certain rounds by, getting a piece of info, seeing like a mini-map for a second, seeing the other person's people. That was just a thing that was done. So unfortunately, that was a classic example of the same thing. Like they were all waiting like this. And if you looked at all, I mean, he was just looking like that. That's why his was egregious. But the problem was, it's hard not to see it. That's the worst part. By the way, what do you think on that thing I said there, though? Because again, if this is a 10-minute break, you know what? It's actually probably good that I train my players for 10 minutes. You have to be able to hold your reserve. You have to fucking calm yourself. Think other thought. That's good. Bro, I don't know what you're supposed to do for 3 hours just sat on a PC like this. You're not allowed to talk, remember. You can't talk to anyone except their referee, essentially. What the fuck do you do for 3 hours?
There's usually, I think there's like a progression system that Riot has. It's like if there's a break that goes past a certain point, then you're allowed to talk. And then past a certain point, you're allowed to then go to the bathroom. At least this is how it is like on stage matches. It's like they identify the issue, and then if it takes them super long to deal with, then you're allowed to talk. And then in shorter breaks, you're not allowed to talk at all, and you're supposed to just sit there, and you're not even allowed to go to the bathroom. There was this trick that I always used, which is, now that I say it, it's like it is what it is, because it's competition. It's like it's like a Formula One trick, like the Brad Pitt did in that movie. It's like in BO5s, I made sure to tell the referee in a lot of cases that a couple of my players are not feeling too well, and they might not need to go to the bathroom. And by saying that ahead of time would allow them to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
If you didn't do it,
Smart.
they weren't allowed to go to the bathroom. So
it's like, that's
you have to do it.
Yeah, by the way, that's not even cheating because that's just allowed within the rules. I mean, by the way, you probably know some of these stories. There's a story like that where like Mourinho did some similar shit where it was like, it was something mad. Like if you got a yellow card, like in a group stage, like they were all reset after that or something. So he just told people like, there's the last game, just get some yellow cards. Something mad like that, like some fucking insane. Yeah, some shit like that. Or there was another one where it's like, if you had one too many people on the field or something, like the player had to be, mate, and the NFL's done shit like that a million times over again. Like, because what you do is not cheating. It's literally allowed within the rules. Now, certainly you can say is that if you were making a movie and the hero is a saint, he wouldn't do that, would he? Of course. But again, mate, sports is not fucking heroes and saints. You have to understand that, boys. You have to understand that. So no, I know what you mean. Also, by the way, what's hilarious is, as usual, the real reason League is dead is if you ever read the subreddit, mate, even they don't watch the fucking games. They just talk about the games. They're probably at work or on their phone. They see a thread. They come in and go, oh, it's just a game thread discussion. I'll just give a comment even though I didn't watch the game because that's sort of fucking moron that goes on Reddit. So I saw in the threads about these games, about when they played the Conviction team before, that there was people like, you mean Summit and Ghost are playing in fucking promotion? Lol, how washed are they? And I wanted to just go, that's too rich. Brother, let me tell you a few names. Core JJ, Impact, Umpty. Do you think that's the best they could do, playing the LCS, you fucking dickhead? That's the equivalent. You realise if I'm Chovy, them playing in the LCS is like fucking Ghost playing in LTA promotion. Who gives a shit? Like, I don't think people even get this. People in Korea respect Core JJ for winning the World Championship and what he did on Samsung Pro. They don't go, has he won another LCS MVP? Fucking hell. To them, that's like playing with little kids. Not in the dodgy way. I mean, like fucking playing the kids league. Like, that's not impressive to them, mate. That's why they don't watch the LCS either. That's an underrated detail. No Korean fucking watch the LCS. Why would you? It's garbage. So, okay, let's go on from this. I don't think the tournament itself is that interesting. So let's just talk now about, I'll tell you what's another interesting one. Bro, this is why I know how to podcast. You have, it's like you said about the toilet thing. You can't just wait until something happens. You have to seed certain ideas so that people think about them. It becomes like an idea that could happen. They consider the what if, what would that imply? Because then it makes it way easier to explain when it does happen. So if you notice, ages ago, I actually seeded as soon as the Vladi drama happened, I already was like, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it for the millionth time. He is not French. The second you have a drama in one of those teams, you might be on the way out, unless you're really good at the game. So the second he had that, I was already like, oh, is this going to be a problem? Because he was one of their most important players. The moment he wrote into that Twitch chat, that thing about the fans, I'm sorry, Yamato, I knew he was Donzo. He would have to play like prime caps at that point in time, and he did not. And then there's all Niski drama. So unfortunately, even if KC had won this split, even if they'd done the Worlds, I think it was still on the cards that it might have been Vladi out of the team, which, by the way, is blockbuster news. True, his form has dropped off. True, he has his own weird thing of like, is he connected to the Apples guy? Is that something that's going to be involved? Yeah, that's a drama for any other team to deal with. But I can tell you, Yamato, one thing I've learned from sports and esports is when you have certain talents, you have to be really careful that you've tried everything before you let them go, because the worst thing you can ever do is you let them go, someone else gets them, and then suddenly they're fucking sick again in the game. And even worse, in this analogy, right? True, it's not going to be G2's getting him. It might not even be Fnatic. But if it's even like, you think of someone like a Vitality, bro, if Vitality had Vladi this year, we'd probably talk about them going to Worlds or them being on the cusp of going to Worlds. You know, this team's that like a sick mid laner, if he can get to what he was in winter, is like the missing piece, mate. That would make them very good. And so if you're Karmine Corp, there's also the drama that you might lose Canna to the LCK. There's a world where you wake up in 2026 after all this amazing 2025 start, and you're getting your mid laner's head clapped by Vladi. Your top laner is, you tell me who it is. Is it going to be Adam? I don't fucking know, mate. No one know. Like, this is like a bigger drama than people realize. Because I'm sorry, when the story goes, in both those cases, we'll do the Vladi one first. If it says Vladi's entered into discussions with other LEC teams, bro, that implies he is going to leave, because I hope people remember this. That's not the way the contract system works in League of Legends. The global database, the logic is you have to wait until after Worlds when the off-season begins to just contact people. If he's talking to other teams, that means KC has allowed him to. That's essentially a signal that, look, unless we don't get anything in the off-season, you can go. You can find your next team and we'll replace you. What do you think of this? I think this is a bigger blockbuster than people realize. What do you think of this news?
I think it's massive, predictable, but same time so damn massive. I think 7 out of 10 teams should look at Vladi as a prospect, because I think that everyone is, you know, in the community is very easily, you know, just let's say like a collective amnesia almost. It's like Caps was having hard times with Vladi in winter. And also the majority of spring too. This was when like Vladi was carrying games on Silas and Akali, and he was like showing his wings a little bit and showing off a little bit what Zeka taught him. And having that as a start, like, that's the best start that you can imagine as a mid laner. As a mid laner, for us to, you know, be in a place where we are putting him above Caps in an All Pro in basically like his second split of his career, that's already insane. And it's very clear that the potential is there. We saw it as well when he was playing, of course, the games in Champions Queue. That's where I watched the most amount of Vladi. Like, he was amazing. He was playing against the best players in the world and doing well. And we had that back and forth with him and Jackies all the time. But obviously, like, Vladi won out in that race big time. And I think it's like there's no team like BDS if they get Vladi. I think that's like one of the few players that could be an upgrade over Nuclear. Like if GX get Vladi over Jackies, that's also a massive upgrade. Vitality you mentioned as well. If Fnatic want to kind of create and have like a generational player, because I think moving from Poby to to Vladi, regardless of how good Peyz is, would also be, in my opinion, a solid decision, because we don't know how long Peyz would want to stay. Like, that seems very, let's say, transactional. I can't imagine a world where Peyz is the Fnatic mid laner for the next 5 years, because whichever team Vladi joins next, that could be your mid laner for the next 5 years. That's what it could be. And from Casey's position, from having such an insane start of the year, and with having like players that just really hit the ground running, the scouting job was a masterpiece. For them to really fall apart and not to use that momentum to even get to the World Championship, and now even in the offseason lose players, like the aftermath of this, I think Caliste as a player just wants to win. I think that if he thinks at the end of 2026, if G2 have showed enough signals that he can join G2, I think that he will drop the whole KC blue wall thing instantly. I think he just wants to win. He wants to win. He showcases that in how he works.
Yeah.
All his teammates tell me the same. I've shared the story so many times that when he joined the LFL team, when they were playing in Masters, he was flaming Cabo, he's flaming Saken. They're like, why are you not playing solo queue? Like, what are you doing? Like he's just a 17-year-old that just came in, and then they raged, of course, the age, so he couldn't play in the LEC. So this is a person that wants to win. So if the aftermath is that moving into 2026, they don't build a competitive enough roster to satisfy Caliste, there's a world where they lose Caliste. And that could be like the really far in the future conversation. Because G2 really want Caliste, because they're viewing Caliste through the same lens as I would view Vladi in a different team. Oh. This is a player that over the long term, this is a person that you can invest in and also shape. And it's just a question of how much do you believe in your coaching staff. Because now, looking at KC, like the reflection of them, it's like now the inexperience in the coaching staff, they had apples and so forth. It's like, it's just a fucking terrible look. Like, what was the work environment to really sabotage a player like Vladi, which just means that there is so much untapped potential, which was even, it's not like, oh, he could be. No, he was. That's a whole nother level of potential that you can really tap into. So the Vladi move, like, I think that can like stop Europe for a solid moment there in the off season, because I think everyone should jump on this besides G2, of course, and let's say KC in this case as well.
No, I'm with you. Literally, the only team that I wouldn't do it for is G2. And that's because, one, you've re-signed Caps. Two, he is the whole face of your org. And three, he's good enough still. He's not the best. He's not super insane, but he's good enough still. Like, in that scenario, you don't move on. I'm not even joking, Yamato. Even though in BDS, they clearly have made Nuke their franchise player. He's also, like, fits the cultural aspect. The coaching guy loves him. They've basically chosen him over even Xiaohu, who turns out, you could argue, is a better player, even at his role, right? In theory, normally, you don't get rid of that player because you've essentially built for him for years at this point in time. No, I'm sorry. If you are fucking... if you are BDS, you put in the offer too. It doesn't matter if you will keep Nuke if you don't get him. You still put the offer in because that's how GMing works. Like, I'm agreeing with you. Every other team should at least be inquiring. You don't have to necessarily make an offer, but you should at least do things. You should just have a call with him. You should at least ask him things like, what's going on? What was going on with you in that team? Why were you having problems this summer? What was going on with the guy? By the way, if in the background there's any sound, mute yourself, producer, because I think I heard something come through your mic for a second there. Anyway, so yeah, basically... I think every single... Mute the fucking mic, will you? Jesus Christ. He's having his dinner or something. It's fucking... I'm just going to have to mute myself. Brilliant. Right, whatever. I'll just produce the show myself as usual. So anyway, yeah, basically, I think every single team should put in a bid. Because as I said, I've seen this too many times in football and sports, Yamato. When a player like that has issues, look, this is where you don't know what rumors are real and what aren't. If there's some sort of he has a gambling problem or he has some sort of problems in real life, then yeah, maybe we can't solve those. But if it really was like environment fit wasn't there or he needs a different type of a coach, bro, when you have a player like this, it would be the same with Caliste. You just make you shape your team to them. That's how important they are, because the game changer is you could win the LEC. Someone already did it with him, bro. Someone else could win the LEC with him. That's why the most obvious team, I'm sorry, is Fnatic actually. If you are Fnatic and you still have funds, you better be making the craziest fucking offer to this guy ever. Like, that could literally be, if you keep Upset and Mickey X and you get this guy, that's it, mate. We can figure the rest out. Like, that could be what puts you over both KC and G2.
100%. It's like you also have, you have the staff as well. The coaches in now, Grabs, Duffman, You have Gux. It's like you're finally like this. This is the time to bring in a young gun. This is the move. I would be like, it's also, I wonder, it's like, if in the context of course North America, I think the challenge will be, I don't know how much they could push for him, because it's like we there's teams as well. I think North American teams, if they see Vladi, like, they should pursue. Like, this is where you can spend money. Like, we talked about Quid, but let's say Team Liquid look for a Vladi. I could see that angle too. Like, this is an import-worthy player. So it's like across the board. Right. Across the board, there's like, so many different angles that you can go with Vladi, and I hope he is aware of this. He shouldn't rush. He should have the world. The world is his oyster, and I'm hoping that he's all right.
I even just thought of this, bro. Look, at the moment, the rumor is 100 Thieves goes there, etc. But if Sentinels is buying that spot, Sentinels, you want to get into the game and have a big splash, bring this guy over. He was literally the MVP of a split.
Honestly, that Sentinels news is some of the best news that LTA has had in I don't know how long, and that would be a gangster move. Like, we didn't even mention Na'Vi as well. It's like they are also now trying to make a splash. Like, Na'Vi pursuing Vladi and making that the face of the org. That could be a gangster move.
They have, though, and this is what people don't bring up, is we need to know what the status of, like, it's based on the news so far. It's implied that they also, as part of the sale, got Larsen's contract. The problem with that is, if you're their team, look, Larsen wasn't good, but you're going to have that German labor law issue that everyone runs into of, like, are you really going to pay this guy one of the biggest contracts in the league to sit and do nothing for years? Like, because I'm sorry, and if you haven't heard this, someone who knows Larsen, get to him. I know him as well. By the way, if you haven't ever invoked that, if you play your cards right as a pro player, you get all your salary. You get the whole fucking thing. Because the way the German labor laws work, like, you didn't choose to be benched. They chose to do that to you. And all you do is you say to them, I'll do everything on my part of the contract. Even if I have to turn up and do a VOD review, I have to turn up and do a report, I have to play for the account. It doesn't matter, mate. You do it all, and you get your lawyer and you say, I'm never accepting a buyout. And that you just get the whole fucking contract. Or if you're kind to them, or maybe actually you just won't want to sit on the bench for a year and a half, maybe you want to go and play in an ERL or another team, then what you do is you have the leverage, you make an offer to the team. You say to the team through a lawyer or agent, I'm willing to actually cut this contract. I know I've got like 2 years left, but I'll tell you what, I'll take, basically, give me like a next year's pay, and then I'll cut the contract after 1 year, and we'll make an agreement. It only lasts until then. Or you can just buy me out right now. You pay me an offer, make me an offer. In this case, it's probably have to be a few 100,000, and we can sign a paper and it ends today. I'm not on your team. You're not my team anymore. It's just a cost of money. By the way, you're going to pay more than this anyway. That's what you're basically telling them and banking on. So no, that's the only reason I haven't put Na'Vi in the mix. But I agree. If they want to make a big splash, they want to spend money, this is a great angle to go with. What do you think of the other one, though? Because I actually think the most underrated one. This is another thing I was seeding people with all year. People haven't thought this one through. When you play as well as Canna did the whole year, it's only basically at the end he shit the bed, sadly. And so people are just going to remember that Oscar, and they're going to forget that. I'm not joking. He might have just been the best player in the LEC this year. Like, this guy was fucking insane. And we're not talking about just the best. All the memes, you all know them all. He doesn't know English. The joke is he does, but when he plays Jace, you would think that was the LCK bro. You would think that was an LPL top laner. These motherfuckers can't do that in the West. Like, this guy had the Ambessa whip for the motherfuckers did. This guy had the Rumble when no one else in the West did, right? The obvious thing to me after this run is not, awesome, you're going to be in Karmine Corp for the next 5 years. I just thought to myself, bro, they've got to be LCK teams. Surely, like, surely some of them are, surely KT Ross is watching this and just going, wait a minute, why don't we just bring this guy back? Like, wouldn't he be better? So the rumor goes that he has offers from the LCK. What do you think? Should he go? Would you like to see him go? Would you like to see him stay? Where you at on Canna?
If I was in his shoes, I would go straight up. Like, I think that, like, the moment he won the winter split, I was already thinking, it's like, damn, it's like, is this a player that is gonna return to T1? Doran managed to have like some crazy cities, a wonderful MSI. We'll see how he does at Worlds, but that was also like, I was already like thinking about that angle. It's like Canna going back to the LCK. I think that he's gotten exactly what he's wanted. He wanted the redemption, and he wanted to find a pathway back, just to float the idea. Like, imagine a world where KT improve by getting Canna. That's already like massive. That would be insane. And they add, let's say, a Peyz there, and then suddenly BDD isn't as elo held, as you might think. That sounds like a great roster. Maybe they can grab a little Lehens from Nongshim, and suddenly we have a roster that is absolutely tremendous. That is a roster that can compete and do great things. I think from Canna's position, I think that the LCK is the region to be in, because the money. It's like in the past, the argument was money, but that has dried up in a lot of cases. In the LCK, I think KT roster can easily compete. Like if we just from speculation, I think they can easily compete. You get to be where in your home country, which is also a massive plus too. And then the question is like how much do you enjoy like the freedom? Because I think it's a very different thing when players. Like a Core JJ on Impact went over to North America, and then like Core JJ like got married, had green card and so forth. It's like they envisioned a whole ass life. I don't think people have that same, let's say, sentimental value and the vision when they are like playing the LEC in Berlin. Like that's not the vibe. That's yes. no one's thinking it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to Europe and live there for the rest of my life. That's not the same. That's not the same energy there. So Canna, LCK, I see it. I think it's gonna happen. I think it's going to happen.
Another problem for Canna is no Worlds, mate. All you got was first stand. You didn't get MSI, you didn't get Worlds, mate. If I'm in the West, it's because it's the easier route to fucking Worlds and shit like that, and to get my profile up. And also, as you say, I've always made this point, but people always missed it. We're lucky in Europe we didn't need imports, because back in the day, not only was the money more in the LCS, but you get to go to LA where there is Koreatown. I believe people say that like that Korea has like LA has like the second most amount of like Korean immigrants of any place in the world, aside obviously Korea has the number one amount of Koreans, obviously. Like that's a crazy amount. There's nothing like that in Berlin. You have Korean restaurants. By the way, when you go there, half the people there aren't even going to be Korean eating the food. It's going to be German people. Like that's going to it's not the same. There's not the same lifestyle. And then also people might not realize this. LEC being all drizzly and shit like that, that's also a bummer if you're fucking Korean, mate. Korea, people don't know this. It has the extremes. In winter, it's really cold and you get snow and ice. But in summer, it's sweltering hot. Like, bro, I bet LCS is way more for their cup of tea. In LA, that sort of vibe, of course, is way better. And then finally, for me, there's the whole angle that no matter what they say, because in interviews, they're actually generally quite polite and gracious Koreans when they're talking to Westerners in English. I don't care what they say. They all want to be in the LCK. By the way, they all want to play for T1 or, as you say, a KT or like a legacy brand. That's the dream, because that represents like the height of their dream when they started as a pro. Even the LPL, I'm sorry, there are certain people, and there are quite unusual cats, you'll notice, the Doinbees, the rookies, who seem like they are just going to stay out there forever, and they never even hint they want to come back. That's rare, mate. Most of them, it's why I wasn't surprised by that part of the off-season drama like a year ago was the idea that Scout was trying to finagle his way back to the LCK. Ultimately, they all want that big call-up, and they all want to be on the biggest teams playing the main role. That's just the nature of the business, unfortunately. And Koreans also are a people who, they are mega hooked into Korean culture. That, like you said about like Summit, it's true. One of the things I could totally see this guy doing is I bet he does keep up on the K-dramas, and I bet he has his Kakao that he messages all his friends on, because they are so hooked into that. I think it's really hard for them to go and live in other countries and be away from all that, and then have like European culture, especially gaming culture, is so different, and the people you're around are so different. Also, lastly, the classic one that will always be a bummer if you're a Korean who has a good work ethic is you're going to meet so few Westerns that have that work ethic. I've heard stories, bro, I won't say the names, of Koreans that went to the West, and after like sometimes not even a split, they just phoned it in and didn't give a shit anymore. And the reason why was because they got bored of finishing scrims, loading up solo queue, and seeing everyone else putting backpacks on and going off, or like opening a fucking chat and talking to their girlfriend for 3 hours, and they're just thinking like, I thought we were trying to be world champions. Remember when we all say that in interviews, I'd like to win worlds, that means like some fucking pipe dream. Even the Korean that you think sucks, who plays in the LGL, has the crazy Korean work ethic, which I have mad admiration for, of like, if I try hard enough, it's like Rocky, somehow I'll just get to the top, it'll just happen for me. Like, it's fucked up, but I'll tell you what, it's why the ones that make it are the fucking greatest of all time. They have this incredible mindset. You could compare it to the Dagestani wrestlers if you want a UFC example. I'll bet there's loads of them grinding crazy hours that we've never heard of, Yamato. We'll never even see him in the UFC. But that guy, To him, the difference between him and fucking Islam is that much, isn't it? He just thinks if I do what he does, I could get there. So, unfortunately, I think this is another deal that's going to happen. I think they're going to lose both players, personally, Yamato. I think the worst thing is you're going to lose Vladi to another competitor, or you're going to make a competitor by losing him. And then I think once you lose Canna, there's two angles. One, your team is in such a hard spot. Like, notice there's no rumors about who they will sign. Who the fuck knows who Casey's getting to the door? You had the roster. Now all you've got is Caliste and a bit of Yike. Like, because I'm sorry, I don't care what you tell me about Tiger. He's not a crazy attraction for big star players. And then you nailed it, mate. Right now, the fact that they're French and they've built it like as if fucking Caliste is their son, people think he's just going to have to be there his whole life, mate. Look, I do think he will get the Trent Alexander-Arnold treatment from Liverpool. He'll get hated by KC fans if he leaves. But mate, if I'm losing and I'm a guy like him, I have to make that choice. I can stay and be loyal for a while, but there's another thing, by the way. There's also where you have to rebuild. If you don't rebuild around him next year, I'd tell him to leave. Yeah, go elsewhere, mate. If you can be the whichever team you want, maybe in a year or two, Hans Sama's not that good. Maybe he contract ends, whatever it might be. This guy's so young, and and the difference is, unlike Vladi, mate, this guy has no fucking drama around him right now. He's never had any reason to question him. If Caliste was available, I think that would be, again, like 9 teams submit a proposal and some LTA. Everyone should. These players are gold.
Oh, yeah. I just like we heard the rumor. The additional layer of the rumor is that they've involved Caliste in the whole scouting process, and he gets to select the players. As a Casey, they know as well. It's like if Caliste is not happy at the end of the year, you might be just screwed. You bought yourself a lot of time, which is really, really good, of course. And there was also conversation that Casey had a very, very revenue-wise 2025. Like they made a shit ton of money, which means like the early years where they had to pay for the spot and so forth. They had to go for a more budget direction, but maybe this is a year where they're going to, spend a little bit more. Because it's like if you want to keep someone like Caliste, maybe this is a scenario where you pounce on someone like Inspire that has a contract that is expiring. Because that's a person that you should be spending a shit ton of money for, and that's how you secure Caliste for the future. You get someone like Inspired. There's a lot of moving pieces, and maybe if you can get it, if you get Inspire and Whippo into the squad, maybe that's the move. But it would be funny to see Whippo in a KC jersey. That would be a storm on a weekly basis.
Listen, I wouldn't say this about many people, but if there's anyone deserves those fans scrutinising everything he does, it's you, Big Whip. It's you, homie. It's you, the guy who likes to call people out. Tell you what, let's have those fans monitor your game with a fucking magnifying glass every single time. Let's see if you ever say, let's see if you ever say anything stupid on stream. Imagine that, eh? So, okay, obviously, the thing about Caliste is he's him. But you know what? There are some more hymns out there, Yamato.
That's definitely a lot of hymns out there.
Who's tenuous?
It was good,
It wasn't bad.
There's a lot of hymns out there, and in a lot of cases, a lot of hymns, they're defined by, what's going on their head. Hair loss isn't just about hair. It's about how you feel when you look in the mirror. Hymns, the sponsored segment here, I hope it was obvious, helps you take back that confidence with access to simple, personalized care that fits, of course, your life. Hims offers convenient access to a range of prescription hair loss treatments with ingredients that, of course, work, including chews, oral medications, serums, and sprays, whatever you kind of want. It's doctor-trusted, clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil, the classics, that, of course, can stop further hair loss and regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. You shouldn't, of course, have to go out of your way to just feel like yourself. I think confidence is something that just goes such a long way, because it's just a question of how you interact with every aspect of your life, whether it's your job or your social interactions. Like your self-belief comes from so many aspects, and if that's something that you can actually change, then why not go for it? Hims brings the expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment. You don't have to go out to some specific angle. No hidden fees, no surprise costs, just real personalized care on your schedule. Think of Hims as your digital front door that gets you back to your old self, just with a simple 100% online access that I mentioned to trusted treatment for real health concerns, all in one place. So, for simple online access, as I mentioned, to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/LFN. That's hims.com/LFN for your free online visit. I repeat it again, hims.com/LFN. Of course, individual results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. It felt good to do that little, little text at the bottom. I felt very American. Well, there you go. Hims.com/event.
Obviously, this show started 11 years ago. It started in 2014 in something like February or March or something. So there'll be a lot of fans that are old school fans, and they've been through over 10 years with us. And so, look, I can't give you back the hair that you had when this show began, if you're one of the older listeners. Also, if you've been playing solo queue, tearing your hair out, malding, I can't give you it back. But maybe Hims can. Check it out. Terms of conditions apply. Does not responsibility. Exactly. I know what you mean. By the way, that is one of the things about America that to Europeans will always be so jarring. So people don't know, in Europe, we don't have pharmaceutical commercials. Like, we have things like, just like a fucking thing, a lozenge for your throat, or like the most basic, like, I have indigestion, so nothing crazy. But when you go to America and they do those big ads, and then you're watching it, and the ad, remember, is always like a utopia, isn't it? Like playing with children, like kissing your wife again, getting the passion going again, a guy like slicks his hair back, who's 40s, puts on a leather jacket, midlife crisis, and then at the end it just goes like, warning, may turn you into Wolverine from the Weapon X facility. Like, what the fuck? Holy shit! But in America, they're programmed that their brain like doesn't hear that part. That part like just doesn't come in through somehow. Because something about the voice, I know what you mean. Something about the voice makes it almost like soothing, even though they're telling you like sometimes wild shit. In case of Hims though, just listen, it wasn't that big a deal, was it? Right? Okay, let's go on. Because speaking
just as a final detail, because it's like. Me and my brother, we are in our hair keeping journey, and I am doing a lot better than him. But I'm starting early, because it's also good if you start to keep and maintain. It's like I'm starting on finasteride, minoxidil. It's like just to get it out there. There's no shame. You gotta hold on to what you got, because it's like my brother did the whole Turkey trip. I would never in my life want to do that, Like, he went out to Turkey, and it's like the whole visual and like not being able to itch your scalp and all that. Never in my life. So I'm starting early because I want to turn into a silver fox, later on. I want to be in Ocean's 14, I want to be there in the casinos.
I don't want to hit on everyone because I don't need the product. Mate, the thing I've already got the grey that's coming through in the beard, but I don't lose any hair. I've got the win. And what people don't realise is, you might think it looks bad because it shows I'm aging. Bro, when it all goes grey, it's going to look straight fire. I'm going to have some fucking like Gandalf shit going on when he comes back as Gandalf the White Mate. I'm going to have fucking, whatever, is it Pai Mei from fucking... remember that guy in fucking, what was it, Kill Bill? Remember that like Kung Fu Master Pai Mei? Like, be me when I do a fucking video eviscerating someone on Twitter. You have to understand, boys. That's how I am. So okay.
Well,
also,
some people use it for the beard too to grow it. There's angles you can do, bro. There's also angles.
I won't say where he went, but actually, if you have a look at another one of the people on the Four Horsemen, has had some kind of a treatment. If you have a look, let's just say he's got a hairline he didn't have not that long ago. So you can look into that yourself. I don't know how much he wants to say. Look, I'm sure he's not hiding. It's obvious, isn't it? But you figure out what's going on there. Spoil it, it's not me. And I won't say who it is. Which of the other two is it? You guess. Which mystery man is it? Okay, speaking of Americans, though, and the weird things that Americans do, this is some news out of nowhere, bro. So obviously, 100 Thieves was only in the guest spot, even though they're at Worlds, which is absurd to me, but whatever. Again, in some ways, LCS was piloting LTA, what they've done now with this like LEC fucking Los Chatones announcement. So one of the major problems you had in League, one of the worst signs, was stuff like that. 100 Thieves are like, look, we'll field a roster, but we won't pay to be in the league. And then you also had teams that got bought out and fucked off, EG, etc. People like TSM aren't here anymore, right? A big deal for me is not what plebs think. They think it's awesome if Disguised Toast comes in. It's like, oh, shut the fuck up. No, because that'll never be an org that spends like fucking Cloud9 and makes a superstar roster. They're not trying to do that. This is actually a rare piece of good news, in my opinion, Yamato. The source is safe from Sheep Esports. Sentinels will join the LCS, replacing 100 Thieves. Now, I'm not sure yet, obviously, what the details are. Did they get the guest spot? Let me have a look if there's actually a thing that says it. Oh, it says that they'll be allowed to enter LCS without paying a franchise fee. It makes it sound like it might be a guest spot again. Even just them entering the league is a big deal. If people don't know, in Valorant, Sentinels is the biggest North American name. They had the best team at the beginning. They have one of the best teams later on. Essentially, their whole org, it was a massive VC-backed one. They had very highly paid players. They had people like, I think Tarek was involved with them when he was the biggest core streamer. Like, the problem is they're not as big in the other game. They don't have a CS team. They haven't had league. So to people outside of Valorant, you're going to think, who the fuck's this? Essentially, this is actually one of the orgs that you would want to come into the game in the same ways in the past. You wanted Optic to buy into the league. You wanted Evil Geniuses to buy into the league. You wanted all these teams to come in because that's where these are the big orgs that get the big sponsors that have the money to pay the players to make your league better. And then also, they bring their own fan base. They also have their own mad fan base of North American fans, etc. So what are your thoughts on this announcement that they might be coming in?
I think it's as you mentioned, just fantastic news. Like you even low-key, like in a way, predicted this shit, you know? Because I remember like some episodes back, you were like, "Yo, what needs to happen here in North America? They need to bring in the North American orgs. They're not involved." And Sentinels was one of the orgs that you mentioned. So I think fantastic news. My understanding is that there is the, of course, rotating spot, which is the one that teams can qualify to, the one that this guy's toes have. And I think that the slot that the 100 Thieves is now given over to Sentinels is the slot pretty much that like it's weird to call 100 Thieves guest. It's more like a resignation period. They handed in their letter of resignation. It's like, oh, but we need you. You can't just leave us. It's like, can you stay for this year because we're gonna lack a team? They're like, all right, I can stay and do the job, but I'm leaving afterwards. It's like, okay, they like ended it on good terms. So my understanding is the Sentinel is going to be like a full-time partner, which is great. Like I this is like one of those things where I can imagine an org of this pedigree is not gonna come in and do something to shame themselves. Like if they're gonna come in and tarnish their brand, that would be like something that is just a no-go. Like they have a brand. There's a culture associated to it, and they're not going to dilute it. They're going to approach this hopefully in the best way possible. I think this is just fantastic news for the league.
If people don't realize, I also agree. If I were them, wait there 1 second. If I were them, I wouldn't even call it the guest slot. Because the guest slot is the fucking qualification when I'm with you. That should be the disguised toast one. That's for any Randy to be in. Welcome, you're just a guest. No. What this is franchising has failed, guys. They're not going to be selling slots from Riot. They're not going to expand the league. So what you're going to do instead is this. It's the same model as Valorant. That's why I think Sentinels is here, Yamato. This is what they do in Valorant. In Valorant, let me explain to someone something very key here. It is not that Riot said to G2, you can't have a franchise spot. In fact, there is no franchise spot in Valorant. Nobody bought in. It's the other way around. They select from a group of partners, who do they want to work with? And then whoever that is, they pay them in Valorant to be in the league. Almost like they paid the players stipends at the beginning of League of Legends to want to be pro players in LCS. And the idea is they want you in the league because you're a big brand. You can bring your own fans. You can promote correctly. You're not. So actually, I can tell you this happened. There were people, it actually happened, believe it or not, to at the time the best North American org. Optic didn't get into the VCT partnership thing, mate. They had the #1 team in the world and they didn't get in because, a bit like Immortals at the beginning of LCS, they fucked something up when they were doing the documentation and the presentation to get in. And they even did, just like Immortals, thought, well, we get a really good team and we're a big org, so we're a shoe-in. And what they learned was, no, it's like fucking Shark Tank. You have to go and pitch yourself, bro. And in this case, by the way, in theory, you also, to tie into the topic last week about LEC, in theory, you shouldn't even just be pitching yourself to Riot. I think you should be pitching yourself to the other owners. I don't know if that works that way in LTA, but like, you should be coming in, and that way, if they have had like bad dealings with you, or they think you're full of shit, or they know something like behind the scenes, maybe they know that financially you're not as secure, then they can say, I'm going to veto this. Because remember, the league is a partnership between the teams that have bought in and Riot. In this case now, though, I do think this is the model also. I mean, I told you, this is where I sort of think Riot will really show in the next 2 or 3 years if they actually give a fuck about the idea that there's a North American League of Legends sport, or they think this was just a thing to get the money from the owners. Lol, we'll give you the bare minimum, we'll ride it out, and we got the money. Too late, you paid your fees. Lol, buyer, caveat emptor, as the Romans said, buyer beware. You're supposed to figure that out before you join up, that this can happen. It was always a gamble. So in my opinion, if you really think it's a sport, you actually do what you did for EG, bro. You take a fund, maybe it builds up over the years, and every single year rather, you offer teams, look, if you're here for the long haul, stick around. We'll turn the league around. But if for some reason you want out, you don't have to sell your org to someone else. You can just, we'll buy it back off you. We'll hit, maybe it'll be like that. We'll give you $6 million. It might not be what you originally paid. You give $6 million and whatever. If that means you want to go elsewhere in esports, that means you want to close your, whatever it is, we'll give you that option. Because I think eventually this is obviously the model. It's what they're doing in Valorant. It's why everyone wants in a Valorant. The model is we pay you. It's not the other way around. Like the problem with the we buy in, this is a part that we didn't hit last week at Yamato. The reason why also people bought in wasn't just the idea of like, we'll 10x and 100x the company and sell it, because that's like the exit strategy. It was that along the way, things would happen that now will never happen. Like, for example, if you don't know, one of the big successes of year one of the Overwatch League, this is why it made actually revenue, believe it or not, was that they sold crazy broadcast rights to Twitch. Now, I can tell you as an insider in the industry, I heard that's what got the guy who did that deal fired, because he gave them like $80 million or something for broadcasting rights for Overwatch League, which now sounds hilarious, but at the time, if you all believed it was having all these giant sports teams, it was going to become huge, the broadcast rights are everything. That is, you can put your sponsors over that. You can do everything about it. Well, the point is, that's what the franchising was also supposed to do. The idea was the league itself would be so huge, it would get its own sponsors, much like Premier League has, etc. But also that you'd get things like broadcast rights deals. Remember, they had the MLBM BAM thing back in the day in North America they were going to do. And the notion would be you'd get a cut from that too. So also from being in the league, you'd be getting a few million a year for the broadcast rights. And that'd be on TV, or it'd be, or in the modern day, here's what would happen if this had launched today. Kik would go and pay money for it. If you don't know right now, there are actually tournaments in Counter-Strike that are exclusive to Kik. You won't see them on Twitch. You'll never see them live on a YouTube. In theory, they could even take the YouTube VOD down if they want. That's the only platform it's on, because Kik is the current one who's trying to get market share. And what you do is, when you're the little dog, you have to spend more for your marketing. So they're trying to get exclusives and get people to only stream there. And that would be the angle you'd try and sell the league on. Even though, by the way, I can tell you that every fan would be a dickhead. They'd all go, oh, what the hell, I have to go off Twitch. Even though they would not notice, yeah, wait a minute, you'll get it for free, mate. You still get it at free, high-quality streams, just on a different website, because that's how everyone makes money. So I actually think this is the model. You've got to go to a model now where no one's going to buy in. Everyone was conned on that one. You're not going to trick people again on that. Now you got to go to a model where like it's actually a partnership between Riot and teams, and we all win or lose as we go forwards. But no one's like out $10 million and then sitting there all nervous, like, oh, have I lost it all? Are they not doing? Because that'll also make people resent your league, mate. That'll make people hate you if you're these orgs. And you don't want Cloud9 and TSM to hate you. You want them to be your biggest partners. Team like Cloud9, although they built this league. They're the reason the LCS probably still exists now.
I still, my next concern, is like in tune with all of this, is still, it's like there is a position where there is a certain set of players that are just so too valuable within North America, and there is no longer going to be that idea that the teams are going to just drive up the prices to spend a shit ton of money on an Inspired or a Bwipo to just like get them into your team, or like, let's say, a Masu or a Busio, because they are, of course, the players that can play and have no restrictions to them. Like, as long as that is in place, it's always going to be so damn difficult, regardless of what Sentinels do. Like, them coming in, I just hope we get to the point where there's no import restrictions. I think with the talent pipeline being close to non-existent, I think that opening up that and allowing people to be flexible, like I think that the league would be very interesting if we had like one Chinese team there, full of like Chinese players. We have one European team, one North American team, one Korean team, like and everyone can kind of have their own kind of approach to it. I feel like that's going to be the future, because as sad as it might sound, I just think that North American League of Legends as a product shouldn't be catered to the fans within North America, which sounds very cruel, very cruel. But that fan base has been abused by the LCS in terms of their decisions, and it's just dwindled to something that is so small. Not a lot of people play, and maybe there's some hope to transfer fans from other games, but that is just like so far-fetched, so damn far-fetched. So I hope that they move in a direction to just make this league into an all-out brawl that will pull people from every corner of the world and allows people to kind of put their own flair on things. because that also makes the promotion tournament a lot more interesting. If you could create a tournament to promote, and then maybe you're going to have like some extreme super rosters down there too. Like if some of the RL teams kind of want to put together, make a team go there, it becomes a lot more dynamic and opens up opportunity. And I think that gives people the idea of, doing something different. I just think, as sad as it might sound, North American League of Legends, for what it was and for what it could have been, that I think the idea is just so far-fetched, because I don't envy Sentinels like approaching the off-seasons. Like, they get in here and then let's say the top 3 teams sign the big dogs. How do you compete against that if you want to be within the rules of having certain inputs?
No, absolutely. Also, I think people misunderstand what you mean by that. I can tell you right now, the reason why the NFL is doing games in the UK, they've just done a real game here, like in the NFL season. It was in Ireland. Well, that's not technically the UK, but you know what I mean? Like, they had a game in Ireland. They've had them in the UK, like for preseason and shit in the past. They've done like the odd one game. The reason why is because they want, think about it, it's logical. People in England speak English. They want those people to watch the NFL too. They want those people. By the way, remember, you don't have to watch it live. You can watch it through you get the NFL pass. You have the whole game in the morning with no spoilers. There's a million ways to consume the content. If you are the LCS, LTA, you want the European audience as well. You already know they speak English. They're basically watching a similar product on their fucking screen just earlier in the day. What you want is the real league esports addict to watch LEC and then watch the LTA. That would be your dream. I know what you mean. You can't just only be, LTA has to magically revive that fan base that's just dwindled over the years, probably leached off to other games. Americans tend to follow the newest hype shit for all kids, etc. So yeah, I agree. That's totally the case. And then also, people are missing this whole thing. I joke when I say, like, if you're going to go this direction, the league's doomed, switch off the lights on the way out. I'll explain it for the last time. Not really. Sadly, esports is just explaining the same things every single year, and people still just going, but a dog, and just like not even listening. So, do you know why, Yamato, you don't just shut the league down? Because they paid fucking millions of dollars! What are you not getting through your brains? I have paid you millions of dollars to be in your sports league. Or do you not like the viewership? Are you just going to close it down? Then you're going to court with me, bro. In fact, you know what? You're not just going to court with me. I'm going to get my 5 owner friends together who collectively we paid you $50 million or maybe even 60. And we're going to do something called a class action lawsuit against you that you have sold us on false grounds, an asset that you then essentially just turned off. You just decided it doesn't exist anymore. That you are a child if your brain works that way. If you wanted that, you should have been on my side 10 years ago when we had the open circuit. If you have the open circuit, you can close down tomorrow, mate. If I buy in for millions as a sports league, you cannot do that. That can never happen. In fact, I can tell you right now, I'm almost low-key shocked. It's why I think Riot keeps making these concessions like, hey, we'll buy you out for $6 million, or you can have a guest spot. I think that is to actually stave off teams starting to think that way. I think it's only the fact that a lot of teams, because of the VC money got turned off, are in dodgy financial circumstances. They don't want to go to court, mate. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of industries where this would be the threat. You would get together as a bunch of owners and say, look, we'll just sue you, mate. Like, we're sick of this. It's not going where we want to go. We're going to have to keep investing millions to keep running our squads. If we want to go to Worlds to get our sponsor, we're going to have to put in top dollar. We can't just go fucking min-max. We can't do a Dignitas roster every year. So I do think if you're those people, the last thing you want to do is let them feel like they've been defrauded. Because I also think if you ever did go to court, this is why also you can never do it, Yamato. If people don't know how court cases like that work, there's a process called discovery. It would basically mean you could legally demand certain documents behind the scenes for all the things we're not allowed to see, Yamato. What are the real viewership numbers? What is the breakdown? Not an ES charts, a third-party site. What is Riot's numbers? What do they get? Here's another thing. You'd immediately ask questions like, is there a spike during LTA games with certain skins being sold? What are the skin numbers being sold? Did everyone buy in for the same franchise? Bro, a lot of rocks would get turned over, and when rocks get turned over, little centipedes and things scurry out, mate, and things you wanted to keep hidden get out in the world. So it's another one of those topics where you can discuss this on 2 different angles. We can either talk about the league, do we enjoy watching it? Are the players good? Or we can talk about it as a business. And as a business, this is serious shit. Like, I can meme on the LTA being crap. I don't want the LTA to die. That will be such a massive hit. And also, it will mean that, you can't do it anywhere now anyway, but you'll never get a franchise league again. Between Overwatch League and this, no one's ever going to do the $10 million buy-in. No, you'd be a fool to do it at this point. It hasn't worked. No one's proven they can make it work. So actually, this is a bigger story than people realize. Yeah, I know some people just saw that and like, what? Some Valorant teams joining? No, this is actually a rare fucking candle in the darkness, mate. Like, this sort of tells me maybe there is hope. Maybe they're going to reformulate how LTA works, and maybe in the future, this is how you get the other orgs in. Like I say, you could just gradually. What you could obviously do. This is why I say you don't have to do it for everyone immediately. What you could do is this, Yamato. You don't just do it willy-nilly. Right now, you keep everyone locked in who's an order. But what you do is, let's say another org does want to come into the league, who's a big org, right? Could be the Falcons, right? Say Falcons say, we want to be in, and look, here's our numbers and our projections. We have all the money to spend. We would spend a lot of money. Then you go as Riot and you pick which of the current franchises you think is the shittiest and who wants out. And you go to that franchise owner and say, here is X amount. Would you like to leave the league now? They say, thank you. And another spot opens up. And what do you know? A new partner. Welcome the Falcons. If you don't know, they've just won Dota. They've just won the TI, the International. They've got one of the top CS teams. I'm sure this is they'd love to get into league. I'll tell you that right now. They want to be in all the games. So this is actually, even though you might not like the way it's done, this is how you turn the league around. This is how you get people in who, remember, the dream of your Riot is, this is the problem. This is why I never bought that they generate the revenue, unfortunately. The revenue, I'm sorry, does come from having good teams with players that people want to see. It's not just some the thing with the NFL is it's the other way around in the NFL because the sport is so big, Yamato. You don't even really know that the number one draft pick is going to be that good. So people joining the NFL, they want to join the NFL. Right now, if you're the LTA, I'll give you an example. Let's say some of those rumors you've heard about in the past were real. Let's imagine that one of the teams, maybe it's Team Liquid, could get BDD next year. Right? BDD joining the LTA is bigger than BDD joining. The LTA let me rephrase that. The LTA getting BDD is bigger than BDD getting into the LTA. If you can understand that, you'll get what I mean by all this business shit. That would be a blockbuster, bro. This guy's a fucking LTK champion. Like he's been deep in worlds over and over again. Like this would be a massive get. So yeah, I do think this is actually good news because I was really worried, especially Team Liquid is what was scaring me. Because when people forget, Team Liquid had that like we all speak Korean roster, and people forget Harry ever existed, bro. People forget he ever existed. He was real. He was a human. He was playing in the game. When they went to APA, and then when it was like, oh, we keep you on, etc., I could tell they were going to be like, we're doing the min-max here. We got the two grandfathered players that are the Koreans, and then we got the NA talents, and then we'll see about jungle. But they weren't breaking the bank on every role. Team Liquid, the old Team Liquid, they'd be the number one bidder for Vladi, for fuck's sake. They would already be in BDDs here now via some fucking whirlpool activities. Going, if you come to LTA, you know, there's Koreatown, and we'll pay you all this money, and you know, the girls love fucking Korean. You have all that shit that they say to them back in the day. I want that to, as much as we memed on it, I want the LTA to be like that again. I want the LTA to be the first ones bidding for Humanoid and going, you know what, you want to play one more year? I'll pay you more than you've ever got. Come play for me for a year. Let's fucking go to Worlds on Cloud9 or something. Like, be fucking sick storyline.
I'm with you, man.
Rare hope. Optimism for the LTA. See that?
I was, you know, there was like a little caveat, like a little side
and
note.
Also, they're getting mad at Summit. He's just adding to the stream viewership. That's whatever. It's a decent joke. That's whatever. You know, even the players aren't allowed to watch anymore. Whatever. Anyway, what were you saying?
I just wanted to add because it's like this. The same conversation happened where people were pointing out, it's like, well, the LCP and LTA has guest spots. Why can't LEC do it? No, it's a question of like, yeah, because these products are completely devalued. Like the LEC spots are still considered worth something with the context of like the partners that are in it. It's like you're still in a position because KC, G2, Koi, like these teams are bringing a lot of good energy to it and of course a lot of attention to it, which means that these spots are valuable. While on the other side, as you mentioned, like it's like the equivalent of like LEC or Riot is the owner of a building, and then the teams own an apartment within that building. And then sometimes, you know, it's like LTA right now it's a fucking horrible looking building. It's like they need tenants, and they need tenants right now. They need some good tenants that want to, you know, restore some faith in that neighborhood. And then the equivalent of like when Riot is making a decision over the building, it's like everyone had this issue. Like I had this issue with them going over the head of the LEC teams, because that's the equivalent of the LEC teams disagreeing, and then the owner of the building just decided to paint the walls on the outside like some color, and then people are sitting there was like, well, I like that color, what's wrong with this color? It's like, no, the people living inside the building didn't agree. Like they bought into something, and they want a piece of ownership. Them liking the color or not liking the color, or agreeing with the decision or not is a whole different question. But that's the context. It's like, now people are saying, well, just scrap the league. Well, it's like, no. It's like, bro, there's people living in there. You don't bulldoze the fucking building. They spend money on those apartments. It doesn't work like that. There's obligations. So hopefully that analogy can help people out there that are still, not truly connected with the situation. It's just a bunch of people living in a building, that is built by Riot.
Like I say, esports, I'm sorry, it isn't what all the game devs pretend, just the players. The teams get the players, develop the players, buy the players, put the players together in massive tournaments, give them the training and the coaching and stuff. The teams are what power the league. The whole franchise system is about connecting with the big franchises. This, obviously, we want orgs that have bank. Now, speaking of great power banks that have all great ways of connecting, Ridge has now designed a power bank, believe it or not. They not only do those wonderful wallets and key cases, they also have a power bank. And listen, as usual, the classic Ridge technology, they've just innovated and taken all the things you didn't know you wanted to put it in and made it streamlined. So in their power bank, they have all basically the types of wires you could want. Their 5-in-1 travel power bank has built-in cables inside it, so you don't have to bring them separately, that lets you charge all your devices at the same time with one power bank and no additional cables. They have MagSafe wireless charging, Apple Watch charging, Lightning, USB-C, pretty much every way you could think of. So it's not one of those ones like, well, this one's a USB one, so I need that for this device. Oh, I need the different one with the USB. No, it's all in one. It's all in one. It has up to 20 watts of power, so it charges your phone as fast as it possibly can. It has a 10,000 mAh capacity, so you get up to 3 full phone charges in your pocket. It has the wireless charging. Like I said, so if you've got an iPhone, it's really easy to get some extra energy into the phone. And because it's Ridge, they have the classic offer. You have free shipping, you have a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty. So just like they say with the wallets, this is the last power bank you'll ever need. Now, they also have like different colors and all the rest of it, LED, charge statuses, so you know how much there is just glancing at it, etc. A kickstand if you want to put it on your phone and then watch something on your phone. Again, they're just taking care of everything. One of the things I love about Ridge is they clearly think about like use. I would imagine their engineers must use the product and then just realize, I need to add this or we get to that product. They've solved it all for you. So how do you save money and get a wonderful Ridge power bank? Easy. You just go to ridge.com/SI. It's on the screen. And you will get 10% off for our listeners. And just put the SI as the code at checkout. If they ask, where did you hear about this product? Just say somebody inside All Last Free Nation and they will know. So shout out to Ridge. By the way, I've told you this before. Ridge is something where even if they didn't sponsor us or didn't sponsor me in the past, I would buy their products again, mate. I would buy the wallet again if it ever ran out. By the way, I will say, you don't ever technically have to. I only got the newer one. Like I have this one here just because they offered one otherwise. Yeah, obviously mine was scratched, but my other one could have lasted years more as well, mate. They're mad durable. That's why they always say it's the last one you need. So shout out to Ridge and let us know if you got their new power bank and if it's any good. Right, let's go on. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we can go into now. Right, first of all, I've got one for you.
All right.
So I'm going to do it not as the meme. I'm going to do it respectfully initially. So immediately, there is one piece of news that's quite interesting, which is Gilius has announced he's retired now. He was already doing some coaching anyway, if people don't think it was in TCL or something. He was already doing some coaching, and now basically he is properly fully retired. Now, obviously, he was one of Yamato's players. He has been on our shows in the past. He was a figure within the EULCS. He's been to the semi-finals of the EULCS, etc. He's had his own. He's been to Worlds a few times. He even famously, people do forget this deal, he was even the stand-in for Svenska at that season 4 Worlds when they had to come along. People forget that was him, actually. That was when he was an unknown, etc. He's obviously been the ultimate example of what you call a journeyman, right? I want to know, as someone who knew him, what do you think about him retiring now? What do you think about his career?
Looking back at Gilius, I think there were many moments of where he like stepped up to the plate and like if you like boil down like his highlight games, it's like I remember the first time he got to sub in because Svenskeren chose the most stupid fucking name when he went to the World Championship with SK Gaming and young Gilius had to sub in and play with Freddy 122 and the gang, to the point where he, of course, did the miracle run. And, of course, on top of that, I think even before that, where he helped the Giants together with the Jizuke squad, they qualified to the LEC. Of course, franchise era, which is also another story that is super cool. I think that the main thing that I think was always Gilius' strength, and I think that he does this better than anybody I've ever met. And I've met plenty of like inspirational people. I've come across a very, very good motivational speaker in a lot of context for teams as well. That's the role that I have. But when it comes to Gilius and the power of self-belief and, let's say, the belief of law of attraction, it's like, I know sometimes people meme on these topics, but I think everyone can understand that there's a very, very real element to it. But I am sincerely saying that as a player, maybe in that miracle run, there were other players that could play as good as he did. But I think there was nobody else that could have give even that environment that just had lost every single damn game, an environment and an idea to even begin to dream and believe that something is possible in that context. That self-confidence is very, very infectious. And that's something that he gave the Vitality boys. And that's why when Vitality is like, even though we did the thing where we brought in Kikis, I don't know how it always fucking happens. It's like we brought in Kikis, even looking at our games when we played against the best players and when Gilius was playing against Caps, it's like the nameplate never fucking mattered. And I think Jizuke got something from that. I think Attila got something. That strength of self-belief. Sometimes that's more important than being better or worse, because being in the right state of mind that you can defeat whoever you're playing against is such an important thing. And then later on, of course, I don't want to give Gilius all the credit for Jizuke's effort, but just as an example, when Jizuke was there playing Crown first game at Worlds, he was playing his Echo. He didn't give a fuck who he's playing against and was doing the most stylish shit ever, like the dream first international game, or even the moment where we played against, of course, Fnatic in that game where he had that opening and he played at Rise and he 1v2'd. Like, I think just Gilius as a coach, I think it can be extremely effective in terms of making people believe in let's say, conquering the Goliath that is in your way. And I think nobody can take that away from him. I think as a jungler, he was here and there, you know, on his level, but like that law of attraction, like his law of attraction is so powerful that even if law of attraction didn't exist, he would create law of attraction. That's how powerful his law of attraction is.
Oh, by the way, here's why. It's the other way around. He's proof that stuff like that exists, that some sort of principle exists, because he was a mid-ass jungler who'd already been on 1 billion teams before anyone heard of him. He wasn't someone who was like a scouted top talent. You must get this guy. In fact, he's the sort of person where even when you climb on the ladder, I can tell you people would be like, oh, it's just Gilius. Everyone sort of thought he was a meme. And in fact, early on, his trash talker wasn't even good. He was just doing a bad Conor McGregor impression. It's only over the years he crafted it a bit. And also then he did the whole thing with you guys on the stream where he became more like personable and likable. And he wasn't just like the shitty trash talker. No, this is a guy who, if you look at the career he had and you're a fan and you laugh, mate, his life's a dream compared to yours. What are you doing, checking in at the office again? Shut the fuck up. This guy had a fucking really long esports career for what esports is. Got to play on many different, got to go to the World Championship, for fuck's sake. By the way, he went to Worlds and like beat like fucking some teams, not all the best ones. He beat some, he had scrims where he got to play the best players in the world. Not everyone can be Caps, and stop pretending because you're a fan of Caps, you are Caps. You just watch him on the screen, bro. Gilius is more than you in League of Legends. Understand that for a second. Let's just get that in perspective, you know. So I do think actually people don't, and also you notice the people who mock like law of attraction, it's never successful people. It's just some dickhead. What you mean is that you don't understand it, so you think it doesn't work, so therefore it can't work for anyone. And you'll say that to the person who's literally doing it. I've had it my whole career. People have told me that what I'm doing doesn't work as I'm making millions of dollars doing it. It's like, you know what, mate? Keep talking. You just keep telling me that. I'll keep making the millions. How about that? And at the end, you can go, yeah, it's just luck. You know what? Better to be lucky than good then, innit? Better to be lucky than good. So, okay, I also think something that's underrated is this. People only remember the early days when he was just super mid, basically. Bro, when he was on your Vitality team, actually, he was part of the whole structure of the fucking game plan early on. It was clear. Then you remember the Schalke. People think it's just Abidagi. He had a mad run back. Bro, he was beating G2 with Reckless and the team you all said was unfair that it was created, Reckless plus the other 4 G2 players from the super team, and that you said meant they'd win the LEC easily and that Carlos had ruined LEC. He was fucking giving them the business, bro, in the playoffs. The playoffs. So no, and he was part of the Super, what was it called, the Miracle Run, where they won all those games, 8 games in a row, whatever. This is, again, for someone who was a journeyman, he was an overachiever. There you go. He was an overachiever. And if you ever listen to my interview with him, bro, he actually was too good a teammate. There's a bunch of times he could have, for real, hopped to like a fanatic. That's real. But he would do that shit where it's like he wanted to wait it out, or he wanted to hear more about the offer, or he wanted to think about. He didn't realize those are the ones where you got to either do it or you haven't. You got to sort of do it without thinking. He wanted to maybe stay with people he was loyal to, or play with certain players he thought were better players. And he did that thing which, look, as an outsider, will always look naive, but I get how players think. He would do that thing where it's like, oh, I could join Fnatic, but I think the roster that we're going to make's better, so we'll just beat them. And it's like, yeah, but bro, you're on Schalke. Like you might beat him in the game, but being on Fnatic gets you the salary and, the build's got. But I admire people who do that, Yamato. There's very few people will. There's a lot of people in sports right now. One of the things I hate about sports is the people where they win one championship, so then they just go to the biggest money offer elsewhere and play on the middle of the table for the rest of their career. And it's like, bro, I'd have taken 75% of that, get another championship, because stay at the top, hunt for greatness and have some money, So I think he did do that. I think he deserves respect for that. Now, obviously, there's a ridiculous meme, which is like, this is actually just coincidence. But like some crazy cursed narrative, if you don't know, in their careers, Kikis also was on, a Polish jungler, was also on 1 million teams. And for some bizarre reason, people really did, just like Freeze and Forgiven, they always picked this guy up right after Gilius. And the same joke has happened. Like a week later, Kikis just said he's retiring too. And it's like, bro, can I get a break? What next? I tell you what, Gilius, don't do this. But if Gilius somehow got unalived, Kikis, mate, just fucking take a vacation, bro. You don't want to get, don't follow him to heaven. That's not the move, You don't have to follow him in everything. Tell you what, if I'm fucking, what's Kikis' Tinder? Just all of Gilius' exes. Fucking, that's straight fire, mate. That's straight fire. So anyway, so Kikis is retired too. By the way, some thoughts about Kikis? He wasn't a joke. He was a real player.
Oh, Kikis as well. I think. Yeah, like it's his career. I always thought it was strange because it's like he seemed to always like leave teams for the strangest reasons.
Yep.
It's like he was on Unicorns of Love. He had like that team was making finals. They were competitive, and then he moved on, and then he lane swapped to top lane, and he was on, of course, like G2, and then there was a situation where.
You won a fucking LEC split at a roll swap, yeah.
It was nuts. Things were going good,
Yep.
and then he brought an expect, and then he didn't want to share time, so he moved on. And like he went through, and then he joined Mysterious Monkeys. He went from G2 to Mysterious Monkeys. Like that's a crazy jump. And it's like also one of those things. It's like he was principled in his approach. Like we brought him in, and obviously it's like I wanted him and Gilius to share time, and then in the end it's like we just committed to Kikis, and we had an insane run too. It's like we were struggling there in that summer as a team, and Kikis coming into the team is just like a very, very skilled player that you can just kind of plug and play. And at the same time, it's like sometimes teams are in situations where you just need a dynamic shift, and sometimes. A dynamic shift is holding back all of the players, and then suddenly that burden is gone because everyone needs to kind of relearn everything again, and they get to show themselves in a different light. And that happened for us. We started like a massive win streak. We made it to the World Championship, and we beat Misfits for the third place decider, which was super nice. But in the end, like we moved on because we wanted to take over. We wanted to move on to Mowgli. And I remember like the main reason why we wanted to move on was like Kikis as a player. I think my read was that he was jumping between teams so much that he cared a lot about what his individual value would be on the outside. And I could see that sometimes bleed into like some of the decisions he made. It's like, oh, I would rather play this champion because I can show myself a lot more. And I couldn't have that in a team. Like, regardless of how good you are, for me, that's not something that I can really compromise on, especially if I have a very, very strong option in Mowgli at the time. But I think that Kikis has had quite a career, and I do think that if he was focused on only making sure that he was on the winning team and he was there, I think that this is a player that could have had a way better career than he did. But he was like jumping around on many different teams, and still he deserves like a lot of respect because he did it in so many different roles. I think he even played support at one point in the Polish league, so he's a player that's been busy for sure.
No, again, this is another example of where these people become a meme. He was the fucking LEC champion at ULCS at the time. People just forget. They do this with everyone on that team except Perks and Trick Bro. People think all 5 players won 4 splits in a row. It was the best in the West, and it wasn't. Expected the best in the West bot lane wasn't there. That was the first split was the bizarre one where it didn't even make sense to anyone. If you look at the rosters, you were like, what? This is like a ragtag bunch of people he got off the street, basically, like fucking ERL player equivalent. It was Challenger back then. So no, like he did win a split, and that was in a raw swap. His main one, he obviously has the iconic one where when TSM was one of the best Western teams, they were at that IEM San Jose or whatever it was, and it wasn't just one game, there was 2 games. He had the one where he did the fucking, he played TF jungle, and he gold carded Bjergsen mid lane so Power of Evil could fucking get ahead on Bjergsen, which was like that. They weren't even in a ULCS team at the time, guys. Like TSM didn't think they could lose that game. I can tell you, I know from talking to Loco, they didn't even prep for it. That's why they didn't even look at what Power of Evil's champion pool was. Also, do you know how mental that is to on stage do a fucking gold card TF jungle? If you miss the gold card, your game's over. Like, you fucking ruined the whole thing. That wasn't even a pick at the time, bro. That was some mental tech. And then obviously there's the classic fucking flesh bear slip. When he did the fucking Uday back when no one played Uday, he also did that. He was just doing flash fucking stunts on people in lanes. So I always thought this guy, I tell you what, he had a Paula style of play. He was the reason why in Unicorns Love they had the chaos style. People forget this. Hylissang wasn't that chaotic till years later. He was just like a good Morgana player at the time. It was Kikis. He was part of the whole chaos style. And again, in that team as a jungler, he was in the finals of the ULCS. Like, people love to make these people memes. It's like, bro, there are some very good players who've never been in a final of a tournament. Forgiven, never made an LEC final. He's a better player than Kikis and Gilius, but I tell you what, give respect when people do accomplish things in their careers. And again, if you're going to switch a million teams, I'll tell you what, it took until a long time, and I heard some of it was his choice, before he wasn't at the LEC level anymore. He could have been in plenty of these other teams. He probably could have been in the LCS if he wanted to be, et cetera, et cetera. I think he maybe was briefly. So, no, all these people, you got to give it up to them. I do think they all deserve respect on some level. And if they're retired now, this isn't the time to fucking dunk on them, really, is it? So we just let it. It's all good. We acknowledge your career. They're going to become coaches now. I don't know how good they'll be as coaches. That remains to be seen, obviously. Okay, I thought that was news worth doing.
Yeah, agree.
Right, I have something we can talk about now. What we'll do is we'll come out a second and talk about something outside of the game directly, and as in the leagues, and then we'll go back into, we'll talk about Asia International and stuff. Right, so what I want to ask you about, because I saw you made a video about it, it was actually, this is where Yamato actually was on some fucking Paul Atreides. You saw the future. You actually predicted how lane swaps might work, and they've made a change specifically for Worlds, basically around the penalties on lane swaps. So can you explain the gist of it? I saw you made a video on this topic.
So this was back in February when they added the initial restrictions, where basically they added like the gateway that you can't share XP, and it's just like your big alert and whatever. And I instantly said, well, right, you can do this, which was basically a variant where you just send your top lane and support into bot lane, which is what we see everywhere. And then I said that you can just move your support into mid and have your ADC lane mid, because in the initial problem of that was that they put way higher gate timers on top lane, and they are reverting back to that. So it's like they removed the gate timer, lowered it, because at the time they wanted to do it like 4 or 5 minutes, really closing off top lane. But it was very awkward for supports because sometimes they would like base and then roam top and maybe get a gank kill. Yeah. So it kind of ruined the flow of support, so they lowered it. And the idea that I set up in February 2022, like the 22nd of February, is the mid lane variant of this lane swap, because you can't break that gameplay pattern where you can't roam mid as a support. It would just ruin the whole game. It's like if you compare it to Dota, there's no restrictions about who can go anywhere, and everyone's just accustomed to that and fine with that. So now we are going to move in a world where there is a very, very high chance that mid laners might just lane top against top laners, ADCs in mid, and then the support just moving into mid. And that's something that we already saw.
That's exciting, bro. Don't you think so?
It kind of brings me back because I remember season 1 were games like this.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
I like the use cases for this. It's like if the enemy picks something like a Galio.
It's why it's kind of complicated if you talk about, famously, Expeke is the one. Because Expeke used to play top, but that's also because that's what you sometimes just did with his champion. Same as like, sometimes it was solo ADC bottom, but like, what was that? You know what I mean? Like, people don't realize the game wasn't, it was more like, I mean, Dota changed itself, but it's more like games where you have choices to what you do. There wasn't a set, like, everyone goes like this, right?
It was actually like season 1. The biggest advantage EU had was that we played like AD support bot lane first. Like that was like the big advantage. Everyone else was playing AD top and AD mid. You know, it's like Tristana Ashe laning top, and you're like, all right. It was like the idea was we need to give XP and go to ADC. That's the most important. This was like the meta back then. So I think it's very likely that this comes up. I believe there's been one game in ERLs where this has already happened in the context of specifically laning against melee champions. Like if you see an Akali as an answer into Orianna, and Orianna's laning against Nara top, and then you are laning, let's say, as a Corki into Akali, that's very, very easy. You can punish Akalis, you can punish Galios with these AD champs, and pretty much of course, attack it from the same angle as you would attack top. And the key detail is that you just escape the matchups. You escape the matchups, and you can also be flexible with this. Sometimes you can send your mid laner into bot, even though I think that's a lot more rare. I think just the top laners just thrive in low economy situations. Like if your mid laner is behind, it's not going to be the greatest. But maybe you can send like Galio into bot, and he just farms with Qs, and he's bulky and he's tanky. There's a lot more to explore. Like I don't think that we're done with late swaps. There's going to be layers to it, and I do think that teams are going to they're going to come through this and are going to look at this very specifically, because if you are behind for some reason on this detail, or if you're a team that comes from, let's say, a weaker region, if like the European teams don't explore this, the LTA teams don't explore this, I don't know what you're doing with yourself, because this is how you can create an edge.
The LCP, this is where you go crazy. I know what you mean. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. This is how you create an edge. Like you make yourself awkward, and then you see what's up. Like that's basically like if you look at Team Liquid's year when they were successful in that 1 year, it was pretty much they were just better than everybody at lane swapping. That's what it was. It makes a really, really big difference. So I'm really intrigued to see how it plays out, and I don't know. These restrictions are so unnatural in the game. I don't like when
I hate it.
It's kind of like bowling with the fucking the things. It's not the real game. Like you're not playing. You're not bowling anymore. It's a whole ass different game. So it's awkward. But I understand the issue with it. But I didn't feel like this version of lane swap was that jarring. Really.
No, I have two problems with the whole lane swap thing. I actually think it's mental that Riot has any say in that shit. What are you doing? Just balance. Listen, dickhead, you spent the whole time telling us you balance for solo queue. Just make the game for solo. They're not doing this in solo queue. So why are you coming in the pro game where, I'm sorry, you as Riot Games know nothing about the pro game and how it works and what's good and what makes for good viewership, what makes for a great game, what makes for... You know nothing about it. You're a video game designer. Shut the fuck up. So I think it's insane that you come in and go, hey, that's too good, stop doing that. Could you imagine sports if this was real, bro? Oh, we don't want to take attackers, so we're going to make a rule that you can't pass backwards more than twice and the ball has to go over... Shut the fuck up. Who are you? You make the football, dickhead. We play the game, you make the football. So I think it's mental, the idea you come in anyway, because actually it ruins one of the biggest things about esports, which is, almost every OP mechanic in a classic game, Quake, Smash Brothers Melee, almost every OP mechanic was not intended and was just discovered by players, and then they mastered it. That's a core concept. And in League, this is what I've always hated about the game compared to other MOBAs even. They will cut off a meta at the legs after 2 months. Bro, in 4 months, that meta might have become something beautiful, might have become amazing because the counters to that might have been discovered. Then a counter to the counter. And I can tell you, the best example ever is StarCraft Brood War. It didn't have a patch for over 10 years. So there was times when certain shit was mega OP. But here's the craziest thing of all, bro. Eventually, it wouldn't be OP. Eventually, people, as long as there's enough tools in the game, people found ways around it. People designed maps differently, so it didn't give bias. So there was ways to make it so that the players decided what was in the game, not some wonk in a Riot Games fucking thing going, oh, brilliant, what's going on here? So I think the other thing as well, and this is a classic complaint of mine, is why does it always have to be before Worlds? I'll never understand it. This is, another reason, by the way, why, if you're a T1 fan, you think we hate Faker. because you never talk about patches or metas. You talk like every game Faker ever played was the exact same League of Legends game. And so to you, he is hiding his power level. This is Dragon Ball Z. He's pretending his best move is the first one he does in spring. Then that doesn't win and the smoke clears and Chovey's still there. Then he pretends his move in summer is his second power move and he lets Krillin fight him. But then the smoke clears again. And only at Worlds in the playoffs does he... Super Saiyan level 4 and then he wins world. You believe that? You think that's what League of Legends is? You know, if Riot never changed any metas, I don't know how many worlds Breaker would run. By the way, maybe he'd have won more worlds. Maybe he would have won less, but we'll never know. And my problem isn't that you make big changes. It's that you make changes with no tournament before the worlds. Like if you made this change at the beginning of summer split, fine, play it out. Let everyone figure it out in summer. Let everyone watch each other. Let everyone think about it. Then let's start worlds. The problem is, what you just said is true. If I'm Gen G, I probably need to see someone do this against me in the scrim and know it's effective. Or I'm not going to waste my time on it. Like, I'm just going to stick with the standard play because standard play is what's going to make me a world champion. I think that's a really weird wrinkle to add into a world championship. Like, for me, Worlds is the final of the season. It's not its own separate tournament completely, but this disconnects it from the tournament. I mean, the worst example ever, you know this one, is the Season 5 one. We played a whole year, and then you go to Worlds. The team on this one side always has to ban Mordekaiser. Why though? I just decided you do. That changed everyone's draft strategy for the entire year in a way that it didn't enhance competition. It just made it stupider.
It was funny because it's like the LPL was seen as such a big ass fucking disappointment because obviously it was, but. It's like they came into the tournament with mid laners that were like LPL. The edge that they had was that they were better at using TP than everybody, and also at the same time they were better at everybody at playing the assassins, like the Dianas, the Echoes. This was like rookie times, and then it's like suddenly there was Juggernaut patch, and then everything changed because you can't play those fucking champions into Darius and Fiora. Like it's just not possible. And then obviously Marin and Smeb really popped off at this one. But there's so many egregious examples, but I agree that 2015 is probably like the worst one. Like a Juggernaut patch, it was too fucking hilarious. I will never forget Balls pentakilling fucking Fnatic with his champ.
I know.
Good times.
that was it. That's even a detail that also showed how whack it was. Because the joke was back then, bro, it was so rare you had a pentakill in pro play. Like, I don't even know Faker, maybe Faker did a 1 or 2. Like, famously, my favorite top laner, the best top laner ever at that point in time, Flame had never done a pentakill. And then Balls did one because he was on Darius, which is just a champion designed to do fucking pentakills, as far as I can tell. And then, so like, what have you done to the records at that point in time? You know what I mean? It's just stupid, isn't it? That's not League of Legends at that point. So yeah, I know what you mean. It's garbage, isn't it? Right. I thought we'd just do a little section on that. As I say, there's already content on Yamato's stream if people want to see more about lane swaps and how he envisions it playing out. And by the way, essentially, he almost predicted exactly this, exactly how people would go top lane instead and how you'd move the ADC. That is basically what has ended up happening. Do you think that's a coincidence? Did you just see something in the future? Did they do something like what happened to enable it to be like you thought?
I was just like the playing around the guardrails. Like that's like the guardrails that they set a very specific boundary, and then it's like I was there during season 1 lane swaps, season 2 lane swaps. I was there all the way till like where Riot just decided. I have an airplane passing by my window. It might be screwing my audio. That's why I had to mute earlier. But there is like back in 2016, we were terrible at laning our Splice team. This was like Wunder and so forth, and we needed to find ways to, of course, make Wunder play like hyper carries, and we couldn't get away with that in standard lanes in a lot of cases because our laning was just bad. We were a macro team pretty much, and. So it's like I have all that shit always still in my head, you know. It's just useless information. And even that, in that context, we are playing. We went into playoffs. First round opponent H2K Riot on the patch decided to remove lane swaps because they added the fortification of the turrets. So they just said, here, a lane against Forgiven, lane against Vander, figure it out. Luckily we won, but still, I kind of felt screwed over. I'm not gonna lie. Good times.
Okay, I actually have one other bit of info here, which is There was a statement by Caps. Whether it's the window open or something.
No, bro, I don't know why there's 4 planes passing my window. Like, usually I have my window open always, but I'm going to just close it.
What I'm shocked is normally that doesn't pick up on the mic. Like, my mic doesn't pick stuff up in the background. Sometimes even had like drilling and it doesn't pick up. So I'm kind of shocked that it's picking it up like that because it sounds like it's like right out the window. So whatever.
It's insanely loud. I am really surprised, but I closed it.
There was a comment made by Caps in an interview with Sheep Esports, which I'm going to read. And it's not actually the Caps comment I want everyone to focus on. So listen. It's actually the implication because there's a detail we forgot to mention, and this is key. So Cap said, we still have a long way to go to beat LCK and LPL teams. I don't have too much faith in other LEC teams. Worlds will be a difficult challenge, even for us. I definitely want to take down FlyQuest. They are first on our list. We will definitely make it out of Swiss this year. Now, there's some good news that people have missed. Well, remember, the 4th place teams in the LPL and the LCK are going to play off IG against T1, and one of them is going to go in. That means there's one playoff spot available for the rest of the world. I told people before, and I was almost right, that there'll be a world where there's no Western team, or one can make it as a total fluke. It's no longer about, did I get a good group? There's no groups. It's a Swiss system now. You can get a good draw, but now there is one more slot. Even if all 3, whichever it is, LCK or LPL, all 3 and all 4 of the other make the playoffs, there is one more spot. Now, true, in the modern day, to be fair, CFO can fucking compete for that spot too, but it means that if you are the best Western team and you get the right draw, you can be in the playoffs, not just from some bullshit. You can just be there because you're actually good enough. So that's actually the part I think people, that's a little bit of hope if you're a Western viewer. You can actually have a playoff run. Could be FlyQuest, could be G2.
Hey, yo, that's a fucking angle. Well, I didn't think about that at all. Well, that's cool, that's right? A great angle. Damn. Yeah, that's like massive. Holy moly. I'd even consider that. Yeah, C4 is a tough team, but like
doable though. It's better than playing fucking T1.
Yeah.
True.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Still upsets me that IG and T1 are not in, like both of them should be.
I was about to say, here's the thing I was going to say though. Let's say it isn't CFO that gets the 8th spot. Let's say, pick any team, but take G2 FlyQuest. If I am whoever loses that 4th place game, if I'm Rookie or Faker and I'm sat at home and essentially some bozo on Reddit like, you didn't make it to Worlds, but Buzzio made top. Shut the fuck up. I'd throw my TV out the fucking window. You know what I mean? No. Brother, we're not playing the same game. That's like saying, because you're in the Champions League from some dog shit country, you're better than like the 6th best English Premier League. You're probably not, let's be real. You just didn't play in a different league, so you have a different qualification method. It's the way I made it kind, you know.
You know, even as an additional, like an extension of this, it's like with the rumored change up to, of course, the LCS returning and them having 3 slots for the World Championship in Brazil having 1, that by extension, in my mind, means that we are only going to have 3 LPL and 3 LCA teams. So it's getting even smaller in that context because unless they're expanding play-ins, which I think they should. I think expanding play-ins. If I could choose, we would have 5 LCK and 5 LPL teams at the World Championship. They haven't said anything about play-ins, but if I'm adding it together, if LTA is going to have 3 spots, CBLOL 1, that means 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, plus 1, 16, no play-ins, and then you're in. So it's like, there's going to be even 2 spots for the Western teams. Woo!
So, by the way, as a general rule, I don't try to look at Twitch chat because it just triggers me when people write stupid shit there.
Yeah.
Like when that sound was really loud, and understandably, you could see I was noticing it. A guy just wrote like, "I don't hear it." It's like, why do I care about that? That's like I'm getting fucking this, and you're like, my ass feels fine. I don't really give a fuck. That's not what concerns me right now. Do you know what? Yeah, do you understand that? You are aware I'm not you. I hope. Listen, I don't want to break your mind with some matrix like. Neo, welcome. This is the best of the real. I'm not you, and you're not me. I have my own sentient experience behind my eyes, where I'm experiencing my own senses. Like it's different to you. That's why.
It's like J. Cole.
Yeah.
It's like J. Cole. You know the line from J. Cole? He says, "What you eat doesn't make me shit. What you fuck doesn't make me come."
Good line. Also sounds like something Whipple would say on stream.
Hey.
Except if anything, that's a diss to J. Cole that I've implied that his best lines are anything Whipple would ever say. I know. Anyway, I thought I'd just throw that in there because it's an interesting piece of info. Right, let's do Well, I tell you what, actually, I've realized one thing first. First things first, since now we're going to switch up, we've been talking a lot about LC, LTA, LEC. We're going to switch regions. Now, Yamato, on the internet, if I was wanting to switch regions, what would you advise?
You know, like in terms of regional luck, I feel like that's all fake. Internet is supposed to be this landscape of freedom. You're supposed to be able to utilize it and connect, and you're supposed to be able to just be everywhere at the same time. That's the whole point of the internet. It's like, I'm here, Thorin is where he is, and we are having a conversation. Nothing is blocking us from doing just that. And of course, ExpressVPN has got you covered. Going online without ExpressVPN is like going to the toilet without closing your door. Might be okay when you're home alone, but there's something awkward about it, if people are rummaging around. And in theory, when you have an internet service provider, they have access to all of that. So there's hidden people rummaging around your internet traffic. Yeah. Pretty much that's what they're doing. And with that being said, ExpressVPN hides your IP address. It's like, imagine all these issues that they have now with these online tournaments. DDoSing. What are they doing? Just get yourself some ExpressVPN. All I know, like LEC is sponsored by the damn product. Like LTA, what are you doing? With ExpressVPN, you could have hidden your IP address and you wouldn't have been stun locked for 3 hours. Even companies at that size don't even know how to deal with it without a proper damn VPN. Easy to use. You just fire it up. You can, on any device, you just slam in the code. You don't even need to log in, and then your device is connected to, of course, your ExpressVPN subscription, and that's super, super cool. I mentioned that it works on, of course, all devices. There is also something called Identity Defender, which is only for the US customers. It's like a new suite of tools to get your data removed from all of these data brokers that already have a profile on you, and you can just remove all of that shit, which is super, super nice. Online, there's basically a profile of everything that is just being fed into all of the algorithms, and that's kind of spooky. That's kind of spooky, and you need to fight to win that information back. Maybe you entered a website and they're tracking cookies for you, and you agreed to it. You can remove all of that with, of course, this tool, but it's only for US customers. Rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. With that being said, I use ExpressVPN. Very, very simple. It's very nice when I travel. I hate it when I download things on Netflix and then for some reason I can't watch it when I move. I downloaded it. Like, what's the point of downloading it if I can't move freely? That's the whole point. And then I just plug it in. Boom, ExpressVPN, one button press wherever I travel. I've never been in a location where ExpressVPN wasn't available, which is pretty much like all over the world. So with that being said, secure, of course, your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/summoning. That is expressvpn.com/summoning to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months, which is crazy. expressvpn.com/summoning. I've used it now for 2 years. I'm super happy. Thorin, are you happy with ExpressVPN?
Yeah, I think it's one of the easiest ones to use. Like I always say, it's just a big button. You just push it. Once you've got it all set up, it's just easy. It's nice and quick. Also has all those features you said. Okay, shout out to everyone who uses it. Right. Also, we do have some league to talk about. As we've hyped in the past, there is like a sort of pre-Worlds tournament where what they did is take the teams that were the next best in the regions in Asia and have an online cup where they play a bunch of best of threes. And it is already underway, if people don't know. And sadly, I've got to tell you already, this is where if you're one of those LCK glazers, you're fucking loving it right now, because basically everyone's told you for all these years, true, it's not land, it's not, but for that one side, everyone's told you, yeah, but the depth of the LPL though, you don't understand, bro. They've got fucking great players on their 6th, 7th, team. You in the LCK, it's top heavy. It's just it's a 3-team region. Well, the problem is when you watch D+ and Nongshim and you go, they're trash. Yeah, when they're playing against Gen G, and fucking T1 and Animal Life, like stacked super teams of Koreans, and they're playing people who have all the perfect macro and all the reads. There's no pressure because it's just a regular season game. Well, unfortunately, so far, the LCK is looking like the fucking better league, bro, because I'll tell you what, I never saw this D+. JDG, remember, was like actually like a team that had like upset potential in the playoffs. Bro, D Plus was slapping them around when fucking Fear X, who everyone's supposed to. People treat Fear X in LCK, bro, like they're Brion or something. Like they had way better record, they're better player. They fucking clapped fucking Doinby's NIP. Like at the moment, it's looking great for the LCK teams. They're just fucking smurfing them.
Oh, the LCK, they're like, I was also like, I did the whole breakdown. I said it's like mathematically, just based on how many teams there are in the LPL, a 5th to 7th seed is way higher than what it is, of course, and represents in the LCK. But something like that Nymeta mentioned in the video that he did with Kato when he said that there was 80 roster moves in the LPL. I feel like we're feeling the effect of that. But I had a higher expectation of some of the LPL teams. The level of this competition has been completely like all over the place. I like it's one of the most entertaining tournaments, but it's also one of the least accurate ones that I've seen because we're seeing crazy errors. There was something that you linked where you mentioned that like Doinby was saying that the only team scrimming is us. So it's kind of a weird element that I think if this tournament was announced a lot earlier, I do think that teams would plan their year a little bit better around it. Because you never know, it's like, are these players staying together? Are they already dealing with their off season? What's actually going on here in terms of the state of mind of course, the players and where the roster is at, because sometimes a season ends and then that's it. You know, you have your performance review and you get kicked home and you peace out. So that element of it and the impact of that is a little bit more strange. But definitely D plus looked good in the game against JDG. I think JDG looked awful there. Like the question was always for me is like, how is Scout going to look like? And Scout is not looking that great in this competition. And on top of that, I thought Xiaohu was like beginning to show himself just a little bit. But in this competition, he's getting caught left and right. And today, at least, JDG got the win, which is nice, you know, against Weibo, because I thought JDG would be the front runner to run this tournament with the power of Shun and Peyz. But after that loss against D+, it's kind of tough to know with how well BFX is doing in the lower, in the other group.
Yeah, I mean, my logic went like this. Jun and Peyz are literally two of the best players in the world not to be at Worlds. And then if Scout ever just wakes up, bro, if he ever just has a good game, like, bro, all of a sudden you've got not a bad team, like a team that can, certainly I agree, could top this field. Because the last time I saw D+, they looked mad fucking sketchy. And unfortunately, Nongshim died months ago, and Fearx was never supposed to be at their level anyway. So yeah, you look at this tournament and you think to yourself, mate, if they actually do their jobs, JDG and Weibo Gaming should be the teams in the final. Like, these should on paper be the two best teams, but no, it has not been the case whatsoever so far. And I'll go even one step further, which is, I know what you mean about the vibes of the tournament and the fact that people aren't treating this like, you know, the NLB of Worlds. The reason why I can tell that is, you never on this show ever hear me talk about the Demacia Cup. The Demacia Cup is a famous off-season tournament. There was even times back in the day where it wasn't just in the off-season. It would be like between the seasons. They would do ones between the splits even. And even though there have been Demacia Cups, if people don't know, they've had the real lineups of the best teams sometimes. Or sometimes they sign a new player and they put him in the Demacia. The reason why we never talk about it is because since it's an off-season tournament, there are teams that just fuck around. There are teams that don't even put their real roster in. They put their LDL or LPSL players in or subs in, etc. Or they test the guy out. And so unfortunately, it was always viewed as almost like a scrim tournament, you know what I mean? Or like a fun exhibition tournament. Unfortunately, I wanted this to be like losers' worlds, as it were. But it does feel more just like, it has to me more of a feel of when Karmine Corp did those Red Bull events and invited G2 and T1. And if T1 lost, you wouldn't have really gone, oh my God, you'd go, do they even care? Isn't this just a trip to France or whatever, you know? It wouldn't have seemed as serious. So I know what you mean. I have that vibe too. I do get that vibe. And by the way, like LCK just clapping, doing their job, just doing their fucking job, bro.
Oh, it's interesting because it's like, I think there's a world where FearX just win it all. I think there's definitely that world. I think it's also like
I mean, put this with it, the player everyone sees that lineup, bro, and they go, oh, Kelly and Vic. Like, no, it's the Diable guy, mate. That's the guy who's like some sort of fucking revelation, right?
He's basically the equivalent of like this year's Caliste for Korea. Like at the level that he's playing, he also went through the same dip where he's like overreaching and getting caught. It's like the perfect comparison. Truly,
he's also 17 years old, guys.
Super young. As like even yesterday, I remember like his performance on the Yunara, where he just like rolls in and finds like crazy angles, like with the hurricane value. Really, really super fun to watch. I think Fearex is a team that can make the run all the way, but I would add the additional detail that with a team like JDG or even Weibo, like I can imagine that these are teams that if what Dornby said is true, I did think that JDG played a lot better today than they did yesterday. It's like they can kick into gear.
Oh,
and
you
they
think
can
they've had time off and they're just warming up again into the game?
Yeah, I think that's not
Nice.
that's like in the realm of possibilities, definitely, because I did feel like that opening series was very, very strange for like all of these teams. So things can develop, and I'm sad for the LCP, and I'm sad for myself because I did take the time to look into both the Viking team and also the GAM team, but they just don't have what it takes to compete mechanically with these players. It's just a different game completely, and I do think that they're going to just lose every single game that they play. I don't think winning is a question at all. And then you have that dynamic then that only 2 teams pass, and I do think that Nip Nongshim match is going to be pretty fucking hype. I'm excited to look at that one.
No, the real problem that GAM has is people overvalued them because of how they played in that best of 5 series against G2. Bro, that was the worst G2 ever looked this entire fucking year. They were even better at EWC. That was terrible, that G2. Like, that one was having problems. So, unfortunately, I think they benefited from, like, the opponent taking a step down and they maybe met them in the middle or something. No, I know what you mean. Like, actually, the fun thing now, though, is it's wide open as 2 wins. Yeah, absolutely. Like, put it this way, I have sort of written Nongshim off just because I watched some of those games against the top teams, bro. They never ever had a chance in that fucking, like, it's actually called the Legends group, not the Ascend group in the LCK. They never had a chance in that one, bro. Everyone fucking donked them. And then they got banged out even on the plane. So they just felt irrelevant. But you have to remember, that is a roster that in the winter and then part of the spring literally was hovering around top 4. They were for real. Like, they weren't like ever going to win the LCK, but like, everyone was giving him a hand. Is he some super captain or something? Like, everywhere he goes, just the team figures it out. Like, it's kind of sad actually that they got to this point. I wish that team would revive, mate. Some of those players were legit at the beginning of the year.
I'm just hoping that KT, picks harvests. Yeah, it's like it's weird looking at Nongshim because the pieces that did so well, like I always didn't rate their ADC. I always felt like there was a glaring problem in the ADC position for Nongshim. But the inconsistency of Lehens and Kingen when they are required to perform for this team to be good is a problem, because now like they solved the problem in the mid by bringing in Calix. Calix is a legit player. I think he's
had some big carry games this year, bro. Yeah,
I'm really liking Calix as a player because they had Fisher before. And they managed to like compete even with Fisher. And then when Calix came through, it seemed like they were on a very, very good trajectory. And I think the nature of it showcases a problem that teams will have to tackle when they are in those like split group scenarios, because it can feel very, very good to just keep winning series and to bounce back and to do that. And the challenge of getting beaten on a weekly basis, that's something. You need Gilius in there. They needed Gilius, to kickstart that team as their motivational coach.
No, by the way, I know what you mean as well, because actually I should have said this earlier when we were talking about like the possibility of KT makes a move for Canna or something. What people miss is KT actually, I like the way they run their org, bro. KT doesn't just go, right, we're KT Rolster and we have fun, so every year we buy all the best players. What they do is, it looks like in their off season, they make 2 game plans, and if they get the right players, so the storyline in the last off season was they could have gotten Peyz. If they'd have gotten Peyz, I think they would have then spent and filled out the roster and gone for like a top 3, top 4 team and gone for the world spot. But once they know they don't get him and they know they're sticking with people like former Academy Challenger players, then they have a year where it's a down year, so you don't spend on that year. It's a bit like the rebuilding concept in other sports teams. You can't just spend massive every season. In fact, it's not smart to do that. So the difference is, if BDD chooses to stay, everyone now does, BDD's an elo hell, free him. He has to go to another team. No. Right, here's what has to happen for BDD. Get Canna in for top lane. Get in. It doesn't have to be Peyz now. It can be the Diable guy. Get him into the fucking ADC position. As you say, pop in the hens. Bro, suddenly you're cooking. Like, this squad would very quickly, rapidly improve. And then you can be fighting with the big dogs then. BDD is good enough to build around like that if he wants to stay in that spot. And KT is a premier organization, although they haven't been for a while now. But this was an org that you expect to get back eventually to the top in the LCK.
Agreed. I wonder, like we always talk about it and dream about it, but I just wonder how everything would look like if for some reason Kanavi or Tarzan just came back to the LCK.
There's also the sexy ones. Any of these Koreans, bro, if you ever come back to the motherland, some of you guys could be a world champion for real.
We need you to be. You need to work with the agencies. You know, you need to write up the speech to bring the guys back.
If Kanavi can do all that with Yagao, mate, put him with BDD. BDD, they will fucking cook the league, bro. I'd like to watch that. That would be a lot of fun, mate. I also remember Kanavi and Knight. That was a pretty good fucking combo too. So these guys could do well. Yeah, I agree, absolutely. And then obviously Peyz is just an obvious one as well. Like, look, maybe there's a world JDG mix to change himself and he can stay there. But when your contract ends, mate, come right back. They'll take you to one of these teams. And I think you've actually shown, here's what's cool if you're Peyz. The whole criticism, it was always mine on Gen G, was like, come on, mate, you're not the carry. In fact, they just put you on the carry when like the ADCs are OP or the comp makes sense. Other than that, when you have Chovy and Keen, bro, of course not. Of course, I'm going to go to the top and the mid when I need to. But I'll tell you what, the way that he played on JDG this summer when everything else went to shit and it was basically just his jungler was good, mate, he played some fucking stud League of Legends. Like, that's a player now I know, okay, you can be a carry. I can actually rely on you. I can do. Now you've learned what it's like to be what in the NBA they call the bus driver, not the guy on the bus. Like, I now know that when it's a bad game for us, I give you the pick, I give you the resource, I give you the lane ganks, put you in the team fight, and then you can do it. You actually are. If people don't know, that team didn't have any placings after basically the beginning of the year. But unironically, at the end of summer, absolutely, I would say he's like a contender for top 3 ADC, mate. He was very good at ADC. Much better than some of the ADCs on teams that went above him.
I'm so happy for his career trajectory because he went from someone that was like, he was the best in the world at winning very easy games.
Yes.
But he was one of the weakest ADCs at winning like hard games when we talk about like the top 7 ADCs that you can easily mention, like Gala, Jackie Love, Ruler, Viper. Like winning tough games was always where he dropped the ball. And it was rare that he had those tough games because he was on Genji. But here he had it on the daily basis. And I feel like he's grown so much. I'm way more impressed by his play this year than the previous year, even though like he did some good things, he did some great things. But I also remember like the games against T1 where he dropped the ball. I remember the playoffs matches where he dropped the ball against Hanwha Life. I remember also, of course, how poorly he played against FlyQuest, because like that series against FlyQuest, that was Lehens and like pretty much Peyz and Lehens just getting completely slaughtered by Masu and Busio. That was the series. Maybe you can say Chovy didn't have the best one, but it's like that wouldn't have mattered if his bot lane played remotely fine. But Keen had to like put on his carry pants, and FlyQuest are living on the glory of taking Genji to game 5 ever since. Yeah.
Also, I have to say, Weibo is the one that tortures me, bro. Because when I watch Weibo, I have this thing where I can't not see the names on paper, bro. I know what I'm seeing in the server, but when I see the names on paper, bro, this still looks like a well-GM'd side. This looks like your 3rd seed from the LPL that has a shot at the fucking bracket at Worlds. Like, I look down that roster, I'm like, this is actually well put together. It's got a mix of like the like newer but underrated players, like top and ADC, but then you've got like the fucking world champions. You've literally got a world championship jungle support duo. You've got Xiaohu. Like, bro, this team should work. Sometimes it does. Probably one of the most frustrating things about Weibo is the amount of times they're in a mid game where it's an even state, and if they win that big team fight, they win the game, and then they don't, it's crazy. Like this team, there's a world they could have been at Worlds. It's possible.
Oh, it's definitely. It's like I agree with the angle that 100%. It's like looking at the roster beginning of the year. This looked like something that should have been very, very competitive. But sometimes like your timing is just off because it does feel like the collectiveness of all these players is as if they are all like on their way out. You know? Yeah. It's like the equivalent of like that, like a better version of that Team Heretics roster with Wunder, Jankos, and Perks. Right. It's like the better version of that is a little bit more, let's say, fleshed out. Because like Crisp is having some of his worst games, Light the same way, Xiaohu the same way, Tian also somewhat the same way, even though I think Tian has a little bit more.
He's had some carries.
I think Tian. Tian, if anybody, I feel like he can work him.
He's
work
also
out.
bounced back a million times. Yeah, that's just his career, isn't it?
Like if I had to pick one player to like, climb the ranks of LPL, I would hitch my wagon to Tian out of this group. It's sometimes like the GMing timing of it can just be off, because this roster last year would have been insane, absolutely insane.
And this is also where I'm so, one thing that really frustrates me in general, Yamato, I get it's because I'm older and I've seen more, and therefore I always say it's not my first rodeo. I've seen cycles play out. I've learned the rhythms of a career. Is one thing I despise about the modern day, and a lot of this even is massive in Counter-Strike, believe it or not. People aren't trolling in Counter-Strike, Yamato. When the matches are live, during a BO3, after the first map, whichever great player low fragged, there will be a thread on HLTV that says he fucking sucks and he always did. He was a fraud the whole time. Then, when a player who was like a good player but was doing badly for the last 2 years has one good map, they're like, aha, you all said he was bad. And so the worst version of that is what they do with the greatest players of all time. It's the nephews, bro. Like, if Messi or Ronaldo have a game now where they don't score, they will be like, he was never the GOAT. It's like, what? It's the end of his career. So I hate, unfortunately, that if you watch Xiaohu now, just like every dickhead, nussnacker twat on Reddit will go, I thought Rookie was supposed to be the GOAT. No one said he was in 2025, you fucking idiot. We're talking about years ago. So, like, people will forget. Xiaohu was an incredibly good player. But the problem is, his peak ended about 3 years ago. He was even on borrowed time when he stole that fucking finals last year and then made the Worlds final the year before that. Those weren't supposed to happen. Those were sort of like, that's his version of Faker on the way out the door winning the Worlds. You know what I mean? That's some crazy shit. That's like Ronaldo winning with Portugal now in the Euros. Like, he should probably be retired by all standard concerns. He just chooses to keep playing, and he knows he's not fucking Ronaldo of 7 years ago, is he? He's like 75% at best. So I wish people would set the expectations. Like, I don't expect Xiaohu to win the LPL, for fuck's sake, unless he has some unless he gets Kanavi and he gets fucking Garlic. He'll need some really stud players if he wants to do that. At this point in his career, my question is just, can you be a competent leader and allow Light to carry a game? Can you set up a comp in which Tian can get all his fucking ganks off? Because you know what I mean? People they have this stupid static view of players that I've never understood, because to me, players are always, it's either up and down, or it's a big rise or it's a big decline. There's a pattern to your career.
No, definitely. Especially when it comes to Xiaohu, I think it's one of the most underrated players. He's done something nobody else did, and that's like winning back-to-back MSI on different roles. Like, that is insane. I think it's so unappreciated, because even like when he did play top, he was just better than everybody. Like, he was shitting on everybody. He was doing things nobody else did. He was doing shit like playing Syndra top into Cannon players, playing Lucian top and Jace top, and just warping the game completely around them. Like, this is the type of shit that like
he was like playing to fucking Pete Naguri, bro, and just going, listen, get this work while I shot call the game.
It's crazy. It's like to warp the game and to go against what everybody else is doing is so damn impressive. And he just did that move because the offseason didn't have a good top laner for them. Like, that is gangster.
So swaggy, innit? It's not even like he wanted to. It's just like, you know what? I'll take top.
It's so gangster.
I know. Oh, what's that? Did I just win the LPL and win MSI? You know what? I think I'll change back to mid now. What are you talking about? It's like,
we have people, been now. Come.
Yeah, it's the same with perks. It's like, listen, these guys get double extra gold stars for the shit they did. Like, that's some gangster shit you will never be able to appreciate. Normal pros are so scared. Put it this way, I'll tell you right now. I don't care that everyone he cried again. You do know right now, Reckless has been a support the entire year. In the EMEA, and before that he did it in the Challenger League and LCK, whatever you think of that level, right? So he's now had years under his belt as a support, Yamato. He still doesn't build the most OP support items right now, because supposedly, as someone said on a stream, like, he's not used to using actives because he was an ADC player. So he doesn't build like Redemption and shit like that sometimes in the game. As in, he's not comfortable yet, even on support, doing support things always, right? These guys roll swap with no build-up, no go away to attack. They do it in the top league in their region, and then they go internationally and win stuff. Like, that is fucking impossible. I agree with you. He is actually, the joke is, he would already be, by anyone's metric, like a top 3 LPL player ever, but he's still probably underrated. Like, because he not only has the accomplishments in the game, but then, as you say, it's like the challenges he overcame are just fucking insane. By the way, that's even a part people forget. He was shot calling from the top lane. As a former mid laner, it's so different when you're in that mid lane. You're seeing both sides. You're seeing the ganks. You know where your lane is with your base time. Bro, how do you swap to top lane with all those weird matchups and the weird things where you have to a different type of a gank timing and then still call the fucking ganks to the bot lane or some shit? That's fucking crazy, bro. This guy's another one of those players that's just fucking. They're not just a player. They're like They are like iconic, bro. They're like a force in the game. You'll never have anyone like Faker or Doinby or, by the way, I don't even put Rookie in these categories. Rookie and Chovy are all-time great players, but the impact these players have goes beyond your role. Those are the greatest mid laners ever. These people are just the best like players overall, or like captains or thinkers or minds. Oh, he's up there with the all-timers for me, mate. That's why watching him now, like, play a bullshit online BO3 tournament where it's like, congrats, you're not at Worlds. Like, you're bad. Like, fucking hell. Really, bro? Is this how you go out? Come on, man.
It's also, I think just to extend what you said as well is like the just the most selfless player in the game, because the context of all of those, the era of Uzi as well, it's like, the latter part of it, the majority of it, like from the midway point, it's like with Xiaohu, it's like Xiaohu's playstyle to support a player like Uzi, and then to be able to later on shift out of that and then carry games, which it's past the Uzi era. That's just so nutty, because his playstyle together with Uzi is what kind of shaped mid lane in the LPL for such a long time. And that's why Rookie was always like the curveball, because he refused always to conform. He was always the guy. It's like, I'm gonna do my thing. You're gonna play your fucking Lissandra and go bot? Fuck you. I'm gonna fucking swing my arena balls at you.
No, to me,
LPL history here, man. LPL history.
It is my favourite football player. Rookie just is like Ronaldo, mate. He had timeless longevity as a superstar player, because he just decided, I'm always the superstar player. Oh, I don't care how old I am. I don't care that you got this other guy now. Give the ball to me. I score. Every other player, it's like, no, hang back, mate. You know, passes for the people. Let them run in the channel. You know, conserve your energy. No, these guys don't get it. But the cool thing, like you're saying, is when you can still just do it, though, that's just gangster, though, isn't it? Like, when you can't just be like, oh, sorry, every one of you, including all the, you're all wrong. And it actually turns out I'm right, because you just don't know what I am literally like every kid. I am built different. Everyone, by the way, sadly, that's the worst thing about this generation. They've ruined all that shit. I'm him, swag, I'm bit, and then they're just like them because they like won a fucking solo queue game. Like, no, you're supposed to say that when you're bin and you throw your fucking jacket in the top and basically
I'm the goat.
Yeah. I also hate that as well, where every single person, hey, it's my goat, and they just mean like their mate fucking joined the game or something. Fucking hell. Yeah, your mate's the goat in the same sense as the goat in a fucking certain regions of the world where, let's just say that's practice. There you go. I kept that almost legit. Lance Armstrong was fucking, he was right over my shoulder whispering his demonic fucking steroid-infused darkness into my ears at all time. Fucking Lance Armstrong.
Holy. Lance Armstrong almost made it racist. Lance Armstrong. Jesus, Lance.
No, I kept it factual. I just didn't say which region, so you can't get me on that one. You can't get me. All I'm saying is, you think about it. Practice. Same with donkeys.
I go to many different locations where it's a stereotype, but we should move on, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So does Lance. Anyway, I know one thing. You might not want to hear that, but I'll tell you what, if you get these wonderful Raycon everyday Earbuds Classics, you will want to hear things that we say and other things. Now, I'm just going to say at the outset, understand, no one is saying this is the best headset or headphone or earbud in the whole fucking world. And if you bought one for infinity, of course, quality is proportionate, but the actual aim, it's why they always put it in the copy of Raycon, is they understand what their price point is. They know what the market is. They know who they're selling to. And for people who are gamers, I know most gamers have really cheap headsets. How many times have you seen a streamer with duct tape around part of his headset? And it's like, bro, you're a streamer. Let that shit go and buy a new headset. But we're all gamers. We're all used to it. Does it work? Right, I'm using it. Oh, can I fix it up and not buy it? So the point is, if you want a good, cheap, not expensive earbud that loads of people have used, and you can all check all the reviews and see how good they are, the bang for the buck is good with these. And they are exactly what you want for the earbuds. And they have all the active noise cancellation, all these, it charges inside super well. You can do really quick, all the features you want from the modern day stuff. You know, these are the classics. And this is their best selling one. This is the everyday classic. This is the main one that everyone buys from Raycon. And obviously, we have the usual deal for you. Pause for 1 second. Which is, as always, you can get 20% off the Everyday Earbuds Classics. Go to buyraycon.com/LFN. This one's easy to remember. To get 20% off Everyday Earbuds Classics. Over 3 million customers already love Raycons, and they come with a 30 days happiness guarantee. If you don't love them, just return them. You've lost nothing. So give it a go if you're looking for an affordable but good earbud on the market. We recommend Raycons. Shout out to everyone who's listening to this on Raycons right now. Get 20% off buyraycon.com/LFN. Right, I think we do a little break, do some Q&A. We can maybe do a little bit more since it was a shorter show this week. Don't worry, next week we will have the mega preview episode for Worlds. We're probably going to do it. I thought what we'd do is we'll do it after that 4th place game. We'll let IG&T one play on Tuesday, and then afterwards, not directly, we'll set a time. We'll do it like as one, because I have to arrange everyone, obviously, and I'll get a whole load of people to do the different regions again. And because it'll be like right before Worlds begins, it'll get us all super hype. I didn't want it to do it like a week and a bit out, because then like you're going to forget about all that. The hype's not going to carry over. So let's have a little break, and we'll come back and do some Q&A. It is time for the final segment of the show, which is, of course, viewer questions. Not the last one of the year. We'll probably still do them on some of the world shows, but obviously it's the last one of this part of the season. If you want to submit a question, in theory, if you're watching live, you could do it now. Subscribe to the Last Free Nation Discord. There is a channel there, SI Questions. That's the way you submit them. The same exact subscription also allows you to submit to the Hot Take Point Made League of Legends one, where we take some of your takes. That's still a show that's going to be running this week. There's a CS version of that show, and there's the Four Horsemen, which is our industry talk show. I don't actually know if the other shows, by the way, if people don't know, actually, if you follow Valorant, I know it's over now. There's actually, we have a massive Valorant show now as well. I think we have like a Rainbow Six show as well. I don't watch all of these, but I watched the Valorant one before. It has big views. So pretty good, like sideshow guy. Anyway, I will now take some of the questions from the aforementioned section of the Last Free Nation Discord. Remember, if you don't want me to read your name out, because we might roast you, just say, I don't want my name read out. Spooken says, as two well-travelled men, is there any noticeable difference in attitude towards foreigners in different countries? Any standout examples?
I think there's definitely like differences, but I like what I've noticed in my experience is always depending on the size of the city. It's like usually the bigger the city, the less they care. But if you're in smaller areas, then people take a lot more notice. And then either you are met with more hospitality, or you're met with like, get the fuck out of here. Like I've had no in between. It's like, for example, when I was in Japan, we went up to Kyoto, and we stayed at this inn, which was like super lovely. It was just like this inn, and there's like you do the whole experience of like the sleeping on the floor. It was like these traditional buildings and so forth. And then locally there was like a bar, just a bar that you can't even see from outside that it's a bar. It's just like a wooden door. You have to know that it's there. And then it's like this, when I entered, I did feel like, oh, like I have like disturbed, this is only for the locals, that's what I felt. But then when we entered, they got like super fucking excited. And it was like, we didn't get a menu. They just started like putting food on the table. It's like, you need to try this, you need to try this. I didn't understand anything of what they say. They didn't understand me either. But the level of hospitality was like way deeper than anything that I experienced elsewhere in Japan. But on the same front, it's like when I was in China, for example, there was like the inverse. In Shanghai, it was like super, super nice. But then like in Beijing, I don't think it's necessarily towards tourists, but just because there's so many people in the same location, I feel like there's like a lower regard for life almost, where people like drive more reckless, people like treat everything like
if you go on a
expendable.
subway, people pushing past you, they don't have the same
Yeah.
sense of like personal space, do they?
Yeah. And I've always had like experiences like whenever I was like in New York or when I was like in any city where there's just the population is like immense. The regard for life is just on a lower level. But I'm trying to think of something that is like connected to the fact that I'm a tourist specifically, and I guess I've been lucky in the sense that I haven't really come across that experience where that has been like a really, really big negative.
A couple of years, I'll give you an example. First of all, I like the question, but I think it's a bit of a naive question. The reason why I say it is this. Bro, almost every single country and culture has a different perspective on foreigners, hospitality, everything. That's because peoples are different. It's why actually nationality became a thing, because it's not like, put it this way, technically the British and the Dutch and the fucking Germans are all Germanic peoples, right? They're sort of like Saxons in some way. But if you go, the difference between an Englishman and a German is quite big now. So in the same sense, yeah, it's totally different. Like, I'll give you an example. I used to always think, oh, fucking Americans are going to get this really weird idea about Britain, because all the shit in America was always like, cheerio, oh, some tea, oh, fucking, oh, how do you do, sir? Which is like the upper class, and it's like, like Victorian times or something. They're not realizing like a chav isn't going to be like that. But then again, I've even seen scenarios, bro, where like in other countries, I won't say which ones, that also would be like Anglo countries or whatever. There are some countries where if someone bumps into you, they don't say anything. They just look at you and then walk off. In England, even if you're like a bit of a chav, you might go, oh, sorry about that. It's actually common. You both say sorry, not the one who did it. You both just say sorry. That way it removes the tension and you continue on. There was no hostile intent, So there are certain aspects of manners that I actually realize they're encoded into British people, no matter who you are. So similarly, I'll give you a few examples. In Germany, I went to Germany at almost the end of 2022 because it was SK. It was either that or 2023. I think it was 2022, because that was the end of SK Gaming doing like their 25 years as an organization. And so they had like a special party in Cologne, which is where they're based, where it was attended by like people who were in SK, like me, fucking, what's his name? Get Right, Fallen, all these legendary people that were in SK a long time ago. And when I went to Germany, this is at the end of 2022. For me, COVID ended in like 2021 or something where I lived, bro. Like there was nothing going on like that whatsoever. But in Germany, they still had the mask restrictions. And if you know Germans, well, I got onto a tram, and like the mask or whatever that you had to wear on the tram, maybe mine was like, a little bit like that or something. And some old German woman was like, basically just told me in German, like, put that mask up right now. Like, just pointed at me on the tram. And I was like, holy fuck. What? Because if you don't know, Germans are like hypersensitive to rules. That in fact, it's even a famous saying, like rules are rules. That's like a famous saying they have there. So that's an example of one. In China, I won't go too deep into this, but if you ever look into COVID, you'll find out this is pretty. China has a very different perspective to black people than the countries you come from in the West. They have some, let's just say, they have some ideas that would blow your fucking mind. What they think is acceptable, or what essentially who should be allowed where. They have some wild ideas. And with Korea, I think I've told this story before. The one area in Korea I ever felt it was weird, I've had plenty of experiences of like great hospitality and also bad ones, is I told you, if you ever date a Korean girl and you're clearly a Western guy, you will see, especially older people, you will sometimes see them like give you like the dirty glance, to the side, or do that thing where, they look you up and down like as if they're assessing who the fuck do you think you are? Luckily, I've never had it. I told you where people were like shouting shit at me. I've heard that has happened to people before. I just had the one where I told you the guys would be looking like, and then I would just be like, yeah, what up, baby? I told you I was reveling in it, but that bothers some people. So I would say every country is. But I also don't think it's like, this is one thing I hate. Just because they don't have the American idea of culture doesn't mean it's wrong. In fact, I think there's a lot of things wrong about American culture. So I hate that idea that like they're somehow like behind us in somewhere. Like, no, I think some places are better in some areas and some places are worse than others. Everyone's not equal, I'll tell you that right now. But I do think certain people do things better and worse. And I think to answer your question, you have to travel, mate. If you travel yourself, you will find this out, and you will find the place that has the things you like and is the way you like it to be. And then why not be, when you're there, why not be a really grateful patron of their country and be grateful that they allow you to come in.
Just as a final thing, I think also it's like negative experiences come to you if you are behaving wrong. I think it's
sure.
like understanding that as a tourist you're a visitor and not like some, because usually it's like when I see other tourists and I feel like embarrassed, it's usually because it's like they come and they think like they own the place. You know, they don't like abide by the customs that you are a guest. Because I think I've always treated it like that, and I've never had like a bad experience. Like I think that just goes a long way too. It's like I've seen so many tourists. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'll give you one that's not even extreme. It's one that British people make a mistake on, which is just this, right? British people, because we have this strong, strict sense of manners, famously, right? You're not supposed to impose upon other people. You're not supposed to go where you aren't wanted. So if you go into a restaurant in England, Yamato, and you sit down after they seat you, that's it. You wait. You wait for the waiter to come to you and say, do you want a drink? Then he goes away and gets you the drink. Then you wait longer with your menu, and then you wait, and he comes and says, what would you like to order? Now, you might think, yeah, what's different? Are you ready? If you go to Italy, you'll never get served, mate. You'll never get served. Their dinners, they sit there. If they want the waiter, hey, scusi, they'd call the fucking guy over, you know, like that. British people feel weird doing that. But in that scenario, then that's not the country for you if you're British. Either do what I do, get over it and know, right, in this country, you have to get someone's attention, or you have to fight, you have to learn the local custom. You can't go in thinking they know. They didn't live your life. They weren't from your country. You're the one that's in their house, remember? So you have to learn the house rules. So that's a mistake where British people often will come back and complain and go, they were so rude. They didn't serve us. They didn't. It's like, bro, that's not the way things are done in their culture. Like, it's a silly idea to imagine they are you. But sadly, that almost the entire West is people brainwashing you through movies that we're all identically the same and there are no cultures. Like, it's a fucking mental. I think it's one of the sinister, insidious ideas there is. Right, here's one for you. Tiny Pickle says, what are some, you must have a story on this, what are some of the worst hygiene experiences you've seen in your journeys in esports? I would say the move here is just hide the names, but have you seen some crazy shit you must have done in some team houses, bro?
I guess like in the early team era, there was someone like that you just didn't meet for a couple of years, and then you met them, and I swear to God, this person, like everyone had the same reaction. You know, like how things don't need to be said, and it's like you give each other a glance, and everyone has like the same reaction. First time I met this person was he came into an elevator, and it smelled like a fucking, as if, I don't know, let's say a fisherman's pier, and then like after a long day of fishing, they left their haul at the beach, and then they just disappeared and let that fish rot for like 30 days, and then you come back and you take a huge whiff of that. That's how this man smelled like, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, and like it was at the point where he was wearing like a tank top. You know, he was wearing a tank top, and I saw like on his back, it's something that looked like fucking mold. I was like, mold? Like, this is how little you take care of your own hygiene, to the point where I'm speculating if something's molding on you, man. Like this to me was the craziest experience. It's like, at some point, I nudged him at it. It's like, what the hell's going on? He's like, yeah, I feel insecure about this. I feel very bad about this. It's also like tied to like a medication that I take, and it's like how to battle. I was like, brother, like you need to fight this, because you're currently like, you're doing the wrong kind of aura farming, you know? Like, this is like, you are announcing yourself in the room in the worst way possible. He's like, yeah, I know, but it's like, you know, it's like these fucking hurdles that people need to overcome. Like the mental barriers that they've built up in their own mind can go so deep and become so harmful, because that's the only way you get to that place, right? So that was my most horrible experience.
I won't name names, obviously, but I can tell you, I think I've even told this story before. There was one player once where I was recommending to their team, should they get this person, and he just had really bad breath. Like, not just like, have you just eaten garlic? Like, I can tell he just had halitosis, which is the name of the condition where you have bad breath. So that was, and this person, sadly, because it's how the olfactory nose sense works, they weren't aware of it, bro, I can tell. But it meant you didn't want to stand near them, literally. By the way, if you're a guy who's just a messy gamer, there's one reason why if you talk to girls, you're not going to have success. If your fucking breath just stinks and you stink, It doesn't matter what you're saying. That overpowers it. You just think, fuck, give me a whip this person. You might be a lovely person aside from that. There was a player, I don't even know if Yamato knows this, but I'm not going to say the name. There was a top player, like a really good player in the LEC, where I heard that the LEC actually told his org, basically, please make sure this person has a shower. They fucking stink every time they come to the LEC or whatever tournament it was at the time. Like, that was a real thing. That was a real player that the org had to basically say, you have to take like a shower before the LEC day or whatever. Because for whatever reason, it wasn't working for him. And again, he was blissfully unaware. And then lastly, and this has happened in loads of gaming houses, definitely in Berlin and Cologne, ones where you let the players run the house, as in, the manager just comes over, but they just live there and play the games. The stories of like trash bags outside, just like at a landfill site, and maggots in them, and the smell when you open the window. Oh, there are some outrageous stories. These people, remember, they're super nerds. I think a lot of them are pretty autistic potentially as well. It's all the worst stories of people being at college or something like that, or having a house share when you move out and you're unemployed as well. Everything you can imagine has happened. It's just outrageous shit. So it's not a bad question, but I don't think we had anything super sexy for that one. Are you ready? Yamato, recurring segment. It's become a gimmick now. No. Fede.
Okay.
Do you know what that is? Remember?
Yeah.
Trade offer. Trade offer. The G2 super team never materializes. Perks stays in mid lane. Caps stays on Fnatic and never links up with Mickey X. No European team ever wins MSI. And 2018 Fnatic is the last EU team to even make it to World Semis. But Rookie and IG beat FPX in 2019 World Semis to face T1, who make it to the finals because there is no G2 to eliminate them. Rookie beats Faker in the World's finals in a 5-game series, and IG go back-to-back. Do you accept the trade? Oh!
Damn.
See, it's hitting because the reason this is a good trade, Yamato, is you're basically sacrificing European League of Legends on the altar of Rookie. So is it worth it is the question.
I would say yes, for 2 reasons. The obvious one, IG, Rookie, beating T1. Woo! Second, there's a part of me that obviously I'm very happy when the LEC does well, but there's also the competitor in me. It's like, I can tell you when LEC teams, when they see other LEC teams, they don't want them to go far. They don't want to let them go further than they do. They want the record to be beatable. They want to be able to surpass that. They want to be the best. And in a world where that would be the case, maybe I would have been, competing, and I would have had, my Fnatic era with caps, and maybe I would have fucking LEC trophies. So that's my second damn reason. Fuck yeah. I had to compete against this damn G2.
I'll give you a quick story from somewhere else in sports that'll help explain what I'm going to answer to this. So my favorite quarterback in the NFL was Peyton Manning, who was like a super thinker, but also an amazing quarterback. And especially when he was on the Colts, he also had great arm. Just later on, he had injuries. And when he had won one Super Bowl after failing a bunch of times, in the meantime, Tom Brady hadn't won any more. Tom Brady had only won his first 3 with a defensive team years earlier. And so the debate at the time was, people agreed Peyton Manning was like individually better, but Tom Brady had all the rings. So Peyton Manning won 1 ring, and then he made another Super Bowl 3 years later, and he was favored to win it. In fact, in the 4th quarter, he was leading in the game, and he was throwing what was going to potentially be a part of the game-winning drive, and he threw a pick 6, which is when he threw to the defense, and they run it back for a defensive touchdown, and he lost the Super Bowl, and he only won a ring at the end of his career when he got carried by a defense. Well, the point is, at that point in his career, if he'd have had 2 rings and he did all the individual shit, and the other guy had 3, but it was with caveats, bro, that would have been the case. If Rookie wins this one and goes back to back, he would have had 2 worlds. Faker would have his 3 from before, but that would have been years earlier, back when the LCK was on top, and Rookie could say, I did it with fucking Chinese players, bro. That would be a hell of a conversation. I have the conversation, I think Rookie's better than Faker all time because of the eye test and the gameplay and all the LPL games. You wouldn't even need to, bro. He'd have beaten Faker head-to-head. He'd have 2 rings. He did it in a secondary region, but a very strong region. He beat T1 in the career. That would be a hell of a conversation in the same way as I almost got that in the NFL, but I didn't because the game got ruined. And then Brady won all these other winnings later, and then it just ruined the pleb conversation was a waste of time at that point. So basically, here's why I would snap your motherfucking hand off to take this deal. Because here's the problem, Yamato. You know that whole thing that, yeah, but you're European. No, I'm not European. Europe is not a thing. It is a concept. I'm not a European. I'm not part of the European Union. Do you know, I don't know if you know this. In England, do you know what we call going to France?
Being a traitor? I don't know, bro. You're telling me.
I mean, even going on holiday. That's my point. No one knows this. We call it going to the continent. We don't even think of our country as part of Europe, bro. That's why the Brexit idea was obvious to me. It's like, that's not us. Bro, we're an island. We're an island fortress. Our whole shit is, you don't fucking come here. We stay over here. Listen, we don't have to worry about borders, mate. We've got a fucking ocean. We've got that English Channel is our moat, motherfucker. We're in our castle.
Is that the rationale for Brexit? There's water around us.
No, the rationale is we are not European. We are not going to have some dickhead in Brussels who wasn't elected by anyone decide the rules of how big a sausage can be in England. That's what we're not going to do, mate. We didn't die in wars in battlefields in Flanders Field for that, mate. That isn't it. That's half of the battle of World War is the idea England's like, we're not going to be taken over by someone else. We're never going to be a vassal. There's actually a line in the literal British anthem that says Britons will never be slaves. That's how gangster that is, mate. We will never be slaves. So my point here is this. None of those players on G2 are English. None of them are British. I have zero fucking loyalty to any of these guys. Some of them are even mates of mine. But you know what,
Fnatic
mate?
is a British. Oh, come on now.
Listen, I love me some fucking perks and some Mickey X. But you know what? I will sacrifice your MSI title to give Rookie, the best League of Legends player of all time, another Worlds and a head-to-head win over Faker. Yes, I will do it instantly. It is over for you. Look, I haven't got the time machine, sadly. If I had the time machine, though, and Biff's, Gray's almanac, I'd do it in a heartbeat, mate. What are you talking about? Basically, I'd go back, and right as Caps was about to get into the bubble bath with perks, I'd go, Caps, what are you doing, bro? Listen, let me have a word with you for a second. And he'd go off and, play his whole career with Broxer. I'm not even going to say what that means. I'm just saying I'd make sure he plays his whole career with Broxer and Reckless. And it'll take care of itself. Rookie, you're right. 2 Worlds. Fake. By the way, that's even the year to beat Faker. That's the one where he has the not as good roster. He has like fucking, whatever it is, like effort as the fucking support player or some dog shit. Like, that roster is beatable, bro. I even think they maybe would have beaten them. That's why I told you that's the match I never saw. I like the trade. That was probably the best trade offer he's done so far. Franny Boy says, which broadcast talent pushed you the hardest to give your best performance on the show? Was there ever someone who kept the fire stoking, or were you guys purely self-driven?
I think in the context of like the most amount I was pushed was when I was on the analyst desk back in 2015. And that was an analyst desk.
Time ago. Okay.
That was an analyst desk with Monte Cristo, Dash, Spawn, Tabe. It was a cool, a very, very interesting gang because I didn't feel like anybody was like everyone just said what they thought, which was like perfect. I feel like in my experience in the LEC, often when I asked for feedback, they rather than everyone is busy with their own thing, of course. And I think it's like when I was in the LEC, then basically like Quickshot was just doing too many jobs at the same time. Like he was a caster and he was also like the talent manager and he was also like coordinating. And so nobody really had time to dedicate to be like, oh, these are the things that you need to improve. So you had to be kind of very, very active on your own. Like I never really had anyone come to me and say, yo, you should try this. You should do this. You should be working on this. Your cadence could be better here. It was always something that I tried to ask for, but it just never came through because everyone was just too busy with their own shit. But that 2015, it's like people just said shit for what it was. The only person who took everything a little bit too literally, I remember, was Crumbs. Like Crumbs, if I said, yo, this player is shit, he's like, what the hell? Why would you call him literal shit? That's fucked up. I was like, bro, that's not what I mean. We're just hanging out, like, relax, man, relax. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah, but that's good because I got advice, like Monty was like, told me, he's like, stick to coaching. You got to work on the coaching. You're going to have, there's a lot to gain here because of the new position. I remember that in the back of my mind, you know. I remember like Dash, like when he was angry at me on the analyst desk, he's like, yo, I didn't think that his point that he pushed on made any sense because he asked me to like, how can in a one game a team prove that they're not inconsistent? I was like, yeah, nothing. And he really didn't like that answer, but he fucking got angry and he was willing to, you know, go down a path with me, you know. I think that's something that LEC sometimes misses, like taking a risk with someone and being willing to make it a little bit more combative for the sake of the product, because you know that everyone's just trying for the sake of the product to move it and make it more interesting and exciting. I think Dash really, really did that, which is cool.
Right, the problem here is I'm going to have to big bro you all. I have been doing actual like works. I was commentating at the IEM in 2010. Bruh. What are you talking about? Who pushed me? What are you talking about anyway? The point is also, no one does my shit, bro. Like, I do my thing. I have a style that cannot be replicated. Like, if people don't know, 90% of what I do when I do events, even CS events, I use the analysis of a video game, which could be boring and dry, as the springboard to jokes. What happens is I think of an analytical point, right? This player is bad for these reasons, you know. He's getting space from this other player in CS, but he's not using it. So, and then what I do is my comic timing is really quick. That's why I'm good at like rapid banter. And off that, I springboard into a joke. So I take a real point and then I make it entertaining, right? I don't know anyone else who does that in esports. Like, it's one of the reasons why I've been able to create these fun moments as well. Because in the moment, I also give myself a license and a freedom to go crazy with the idea. It won't always land. In fact, sometimes it definitely won't land. But it's what allows you to get crazy, epic moments that are fucking hilarious, where you think of some hilarious shit. The one area I can answer this question is this. Part of why I do that, though, is because of broadcast talent. Because, you know, I said in 2010 I was on broadcasts like IEM. Years before that, I think streaming started in CS mainly around, like, it was in the early days, it was around as far back as like 2005, I think it was. But that was like, you had to install an application that like went into your system tray and it would do like a peer-to-peer with everyone else, and it would sort of make a stream vaguely work from a Korean tournament. So like, it was a bit sketchy. But things like Twitch and Owned, that stuff like that was already around in like the latter part of the 2000s. So I already was in an era where I'd watched streams. I'd watched Joe Miller, I'd watched Red Eye, I'd watched all the Quake people. And when I used to watch it, it was all just color commentators, basically. It was all just hype only. There was no good game analysis. Even ex-pros didn't have on-camera skills. And what I used to think was, and CS, I've told this story, I used to sit on Skype, or probably IRC back then, with Lurpis, the top Finnish Counter-Strike player, when he wasn't at tournaments. We would watch the tournaments live, and we would always type to each other, like, they're fucking shit at their points. Like, what a stupid thing to say. Or like, why did no one point out this obvious thing in the map veto? And we would just think, we'd do it so much better if we ever got the chance. So when I got the chance, I decided I am going to just do what I think is better. I don't give a fuck what this show thinks better, what the guy did before. I'm going to do what I think is missing. And then lastly, because I was a journalist, this is a key detail to our personality people don't know, because it's a 25-year story, Yamato, not a 3-year story or something you saw in a video last week. One of the things is, because as a journalist, for so many years, I wasn't a personality. I was a journalist. I was behind the camera. I was a name at the top of the article. I wasn't the star. I have had to deal with the greatest, most pathetic diva behavior from pro players for decades before I ever got the crack. So once I've dealt with that, and I've had to eat shit from a guy being rude to me 10 times to get the interview, I've had to have players look down on me because I ask nerdy questions that I know fans would care about. I've had to have people who are actual Hall of Famers take me aside and go, bro, it's just video games. It's not that big a deal. While I'm trying to like chart the history of their career and make a cool narrative that I know one day will be epic, but they think it's just a fucking tournament in Sweden. Who cares? I'm going back home next week. That when I always say, when I got the megaphone, oh, you can best believe I'm not going to give those motherfuckers any quarter. It's why in CS, if you're some washed player, and I know behind the scenes, I can't say this publicly, that you're a massive dickhead diva to your teammates, and you're a tyrant, and you still think you're the shit, but you're not anymore. When you talk shit to me on Twitter, I'm a clap that shit all day long. Like fucking happy hour at a strip bar, homie. I'm going to give you that business. I'm going to give you the work no one else can give you. No fan can tell you that. No fucking manager, no teammate. I'm going to tell you, this is actually one of my superpowers, Yamato. When you hear it, you'll get it. My superpower is I can say in a really effective way the thing that is true but hurtful. Sounds weird. That's what I know. It explains so much, doesn't it? That's why, though, Yamato, I have had to learn when to put the safety on, though, and go, oh, actually, like, you know what? I don't always give waypoint every time. Sometimes I notice, I think there's actually a mental health episode. I'm not going to go as hard on him as I would now. But if I know behind the scenes, like double, if you're a traitorous piece of shit who turn everyone, oh, I'll just give you it, bro. I'll just tell you all the shit everyone won't tell you. Like, you're a fucking bitch. The way you've behaved is pathetic. You've actually conned people and defrauded them out of their contracts. Your girlfriend's full of conflicts of interest and probably shouldn't have that job, as shown by her behavior. I'll just tell you all the shit. It's all true, though, Brett. I'll never lie. Never lied in my professional career. So, by the way, only I would see that as a superpower, obviously, but I do, because my superpower essentially is I'm the Punisher. I'm not here to save the day. I'm here to make sure that mafia guy gets the shit beaten out of him, bro. That's all I can do. And you know what? Just like the Punisher, I love it. I fucking love it. I'm on the stand right now. I love it. Daredevil's like, please don't know. It's like, I fucking love it. Yes. Anyway.
Not anyway. 1 second, Thorin. Then I will reframe the question to make it accessible for you here. What is the best advice you've received? You weren't always the old guy. It must have been advice that you've gotten somewhere along the line that helped you and shaped you. What's some advice that was really impactful to you?
The problem is, unfortunately, I think this is because I'm autistic. I've almost never been able to take other people's advice. As in, even when I've heard things, I often have to think about them 1,000 times and figure out myself like a different way of thinking of it. So I would just say I do have some good advice, though. I'll give you 2 little tips, which if you're going to ever work on camera, are gold. But people don't get them. So one is the perception of time. You know the famous concept, it's Einstein's famous line, apparently, that like the difference between the time when it's like looking at like a beautiful woman and the time when you're watching a pot slowly boil, right? Looking at a beautiful woman, mate, 10 minutes could pass in an instant. You look at a pot boiling, it feels like it's been boiling for 2 hours. It hasn't even bubbled yet, even though it's the same amount of time, right? It's perception that's the problem. When you are on camera, you feel the lights. You feel people looking. Your mind knows, even if in this room it's just me and you, actually millions are watching and people are waiting and they're expecting and they're thinking and you're monitoring. Am I making a good point? Is that a good job? And in that world, people don't realize time is extended as dilation occurs. So here's a piece of advice. If you are ever talking and you suddenly forget what you have to say, or someone makes a point, it's a great point, but now you don't know what to say in response, or you're stumbling over your words, you slow down 10%, or even take a pause for a second, and understand that pause to you might feel like forever. It's like 1 second, bro. And that 1 second might get tiny bit weird, but if the second later you then talk and start making a point, people forget that second, instantly delete it. You're right into the point. So that is a massive. But there are so many people I know they get sucked into the quicksand, in the whirlpool, and it gets worse and worse. No, bro, just take a second, breathe, pause, slow down. The reason I say 10%, bro, is because that is imperceivable to the person listening. But to you, you'll feel like I'm going a bit slower now. And because I'm going slower, notice how none of the words run into each other. And I'll never make a mistake now and say or ah, because I can see the words. It's like I've slowed down the karaoke machine or the game of fucking, what do you call it, like Guitar Hero. And because they're coming slower, then I press the button. Otherwise, you're trying to do the whatever, through the fire and the flames on max setting. That's what most people do on broadcast. So that is straight fire right there. There's one angle for you. Secondly, I will say this. I personally have a weird philosophy to broadcast, which is I'm not trying to fit what people want on a broadcast. I want to be me in such a unique way. Only I can do it. And if you hire me, you want me. So I wouldn't suggest this as a person doing broadcast because it might not work for you. You might desperately want to work on the broadcast. It might be everything to you. But my philosophy is this. If you don't like my style, you won't hire me. Problem solved. But if you hire me, then mate, I know best how to do me. So I'm going to do me. I think that has helped me a lot. That's why, no matter what you think, I'm not in my main game right now, bro. My main game is Counter-Strike or Quake. But the reason why I can exist in League is because I have strong opinions. I have my own flares to how I deliver it. I connect with people in a different way. So I think, essentially, that's a secret to life. I think, actually, when you're you, to tie back to some Gilius shit, when you're you, the reason people are scared to do it is because you'll repel people, because you're such a strong flavor. But what they don't tell you is you will attract people to you as well. I have people, pros, people in the industry, who they see the way I am and they don't just like, they are attracted to that. They want to be involved with that. They think, I can vibe with that. Like, I get, that's refreshing. Someone's different. So I think being yourself, essentially, and slowing down a little bit are two of the mega secrets. That took me a long time to learn those things, though.
All right.
Nadnerb, what's your favorite League of Legends esports opening ceremony / teaser? Do you have one?
For me, the one that stands out is just the 2019 one. Like the 2019 one, like as an opening ceremony for the World Championship. I think it was like the Phoenix song. We also had, I believe, Giants with the whole fucking pop group, and we had also the season start song, and they really like, I think in terms of presenting the players, in terms of the pacing, in terms of the music, in terms of just incorporating augmented reality too, because usually it's like when you try to fucking pull off shit like that, it looks ugly and wonky and it feels like the technology is too far away. But I think they did it in a really, really good way. I think just from a production standpoint, and something that really, really stood out is the 2019 one. And then the 2018 one has a very special place in my heart because I was there in person, you know, which of course just changes everything. But that's on the opening ceremony front on my side.
Because I am old school and I have a crazy memory, you'll have to look this up, but everyone can look at it. There's only 30 seconds. You can look this up on YouTube. My favorite intro in League specifically was the Champions Summer 2013 one. If you look it up now, it's 30 seconds long. It's the one where they have like these cool augmented ways of showing the badges. And it's the one where midway through, it's like a drum and bass track coming up with like sort of rap rock lyrics or like... And then suddenly it shows this image where it's Flame from Blaze and Mad Life from Frost, and like the logos come out as the big like fucking bass, like it's one of the sickest ones of all time. It's so, because Flame's my favorite player, it's so fucking dope, bro. And Mad Life was godlike. It's one of the sickest ones you'll ever see. If you watch it now, I'll give you like a few seconds. It's only 30 seconds.
I'm watching it right now.
When it gets to the middle, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, bro. It is so fucking sick. It is legit hype as a motherfucker. I can remember it vividly in my brain right now.
No, this is sick as fuck.
It's actually dope, isn't it? Like, it even looks amazing to this day, Yamato. It looks fucking fired, doesn't it?
No, this goes to shit, man. This is sick.
And then, by the way, since he says League of Legends, I won't bother going into it, but your boy already made them in CS. Like, I did one for an event. Do you want to watch a CS one that I wrote the lyrics, that I wrote the words to, Yamato? ESL made, and then they got literally one of those movie trailer guys to do the voice.
Bro, the opening line went hard as fuck. Well, the opening bar was crazy, bro.
I know, listen, mate. Because the whole point is for that, I like crafted the lines like you would if you were writing like rap or something. You don't just do a line, you work on it, you think what imagery. No, that's why the joke is, look, that was CS, so it's a bit indulgent, it's a League of Legends show, but all I'm saying is, this is why people don't know Yamato. You know when people go, you're just a fucking drama guy in League, like, oh, you fucking dickhead, I've had an entire Hall of Flame career in like 2 or 3 different games, you moron, simultaneous to all the League shit. Like I did that in 2018 while I was doing all the events, etc. So, no, like I actually love intro hype trailer shit. I've even done a few for our channel here, we've done a few small ones, and by the way, I'm going to do more League ones of those, but we've got like a different twist on it we're going to come up with. You'll find out in the future. Okay. Wait there a second. Right, last one. This will be the last question of this show. Big Boy, because it's a generic one, so we'll just pick one out each, maybe. He says, can you share some more funny esports stories that can only be told without naming names? So can you think of like a story you haven't told before, but you just take the name off so no one will guess who it is?
Oh, shit. So the first stories that came to mind are stories that if I told them, it would be too obvious. I would need some time to think. Do you have something already on the tongue?
I'll try and give you one. Yeah, okay. So, all right. Actually, you know what? Forget the like name. Actually, I promise I'm trying to make it a story that's never been told before. Let me think. All right, I've got one for you. I won't name names, but I'm in it. That I'm someone who very, very rarely ever, when I worked events in CS, I don't get pissed off with people. One thing that people don't get about me is actually I'm one of the easiest people to work with in the sense that like I never had beef with anyone. I was friends with all the commentators, all the analysts even. I even helped the other analysts, Yamato, because my mentality was if I help you and I help you get to the area where I am and I give you a leg up and you can beat me, well then you're better than me. You deserve the spot. But I don't think you will beat me. I'm better than you. I'm better than everyone. So I want you to be your best. I'm some Floyd Mayweather. I want to build you up. So when I beat you, I'm the greatest of all time. So I had never had any issues with Pete, right? But one time I did get pissed off. One time I was doing an event and basically I did a classic Thorin joke, like a fast off the cuff joke. And one of the people I'm working with essentially, and this is a terrible fucking form for a broadcast, basically just like chastised me live on air and implied I'd ruined the broadcast and made it unserious on the fucking air. So on the air, I have to eat that, mate, because unlike other people, I'm not going to bicker like an old married couple on a fucking broadcast. Like, it's a team. It's a show. That would be like fighting your teammate and punching him in a football match that's live. Like, the game's on, bro. Like, we're going to have to sort this out in the locker room. But I'll tell you what, after that, I was just like, fuck this. And basically, the worst thing was, it was right at the end of an event. So unfortunately, when I went back that night, in CS, on the last day, we always have an after party that all the players would attend, especially in the Twitch era, because Twitch used to bankroll and all. And obviously, they were all like, hey, we're going to meet up and go to this place. And the problem is, I was just so cheesed off because of this guy doing that. He's like, left the event on like a bad note for me, like a sour... Like, he's almost implied my entire style's like an affront to fucking esports. And all because, by the way, I hadn't said anything egregious. I can tell back then when we used to work crazy hours, he's probably just a bit irritable, He's probably woke up on the wrong side of bed, or he's stayed up too late, or maybe he himself was drinking the night before, and he's basically taken out on me. But unfortunately, it so soured the feeling of working the event because it made it feel like it's not a team. Like when I go to the afterparty, I want to celebrate that as a team effort. What a production we put on. What a great job. Hey, good job to you. Fist bumps. Wasn't that awesome? See you at the next event. And so low key, it's one of the only times ever I sulked. I just stayed in my room and I was like, oh, fuck these guys. I'm just going to order like a filet mignon steak. I'm just going to sit in this room. I'm going to watch some, Comfort Seinfeld or something on my laptop. I'm not going to talk to any of these bastards. Fuck them all. Fuck them all. And then, because also I am the sort of person as well where like I'm so big about loyalty that like low key, I'm not like this now, but back then, I also would sort of get annoyed that other people aren't bothered by that. And they're just like, it's not big in the loyalty. Just let it go. And be like, what are you talking about? Oh, you're on his side, are you? I was on some of that shit. So as far as I was concerned, I was holed up in the bunker and they were all the forces were trying to get in and they were all against me, these bastards, all of them all. So even though people, the people I do get along with were sending me the WhatsApp message like, come on, bro, just forget about it. We're all having drinks. Come on, let's get some shots. I was leaving these motherfuckers on red. I was like, I'm not even going to speak to them. I have too much I have too much dignity for this. Yeah, that's the one time ever I sulked. And I won't say who it was, but it was the famous person. But yeah, basically, and don't worry, they did apologise years later, and then we had the fucking come to Jesus moment where it all got made better, and we're all still mates. But yeah, in that one moment, they pissed me right off.
Okay.
Have you got a story?
I got one. So I was a visitor at an event that was a final of something. And I knew the people playing the finals. I knew everything. So it's like, you spend time together, you hang out together. And there was a specific player that had a final that he was about to play. And basically, he had invited a friend that happened to be a woman that he was in love with for many years. And basically,
I'm so scared where this is going.
So basically, that was not reciprocated, but he was in love, it was a friend zone, whatever. And then this lady was at this event, and for some reason was hitting on me a lot, and it got to the point where it was very disturbing. And at one point,
remember as well, Yamato didn't always wear the glasses. You know, his hair wasn't like a little bit of. Yamato used to.
What are you saying?
Listen, Yamato.
Yeah, bro, I'm sitting at home, right? I can clean up well, brother. I can clean up well.
That's my point. Right now,
right.
You're Zlatan in the fucking slacks, you know, just chilling with his mates, with his Balkan pals. Zlatan back in the day was fucking, you know, he was looking sharp. So you used to look face in those suits, you know. You're popping the collar, yeah. People have to realize you were a magnet back then.
Bro, I can still be. Listen, I'm an engaged man. I'm
trying to help you here. You're spoken for. I don't know why you're like, listen, I can fucking in the club tonight. Balls of, you know, I wouldn't go there myself, but I thought I was behind you. But keep going with the story. Okay.
Nevertheless, bro, this lady even stole my hotel key card, and that was freaky. Like, I didn't know what the hell. I was like, yo, what the hell is happening? You know, like for me, it was very strange. Like I felt very, very awkward in the situation, but said player, very heartbroken, ran it down in the finals. Just
oh, the worst. The worst. People don't know how many times those stories have happened as well. Like, yeah. I know some in other games too, mate. Yeah, where the worst is when the girlfriend breaks up before the match. Yeah, of course.
Ran it down in the finals.
That's nuts.
Aye. And that's all I can say.
Yeah. By the way, since we were talking about Expect before, I will tell people, you can go on my YouTube channel. When I did one of my reflections interviews with Kadril, he told a story, I think it was about Expect, where someone like triggered him when he was drinking a Red Bull or something before a game. And essentially he went on stage and also just went completely mental. And you'd have to look it up. It's a mad story. It's from a few years back. Obviously, that story itself is from a few years, but like the incident was like 10 years ago now. He was in like Excel or some shit like that, or 6 years ago. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this episode. The next episode will be the mega preview episode. We'll have a whole bunch of people discussing all the different regions, giving you the insight. And of course, we will be talking about, at that point, the IGT1 match will have happened. We will know who wins, all the ramifications. We'll know who the 16 Worlds teams are, and we will get into all the usual jazz. See you on the next episode of Summoning Insight.